We didn't talk about the fact that they played Broken, which is one of the very few Plastic Beach songs we've gotten on the tour so far.
That's true. Broken being one of the Plastic Beach debuts. You know, I think when we talk about this on the Lost content, you pointed out that this is a kind of slow song overload at this point.
Yeah, this was also a problem I had when I saw Blur when they were touring behind Magic Whip. Just a lot of low energy stuff, and I loved hearing those songs.
This set, Trevor, would have had El Mañana, Busted in Blue, Tomorrow Comes Today, and Broken, which is
it's a lot of. Okay, I can sit down for this song.
I like all of those songs. It's a very different experience in a live setting, a down tempo kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little heavy on the slow stuff. I agree.
Right, but they played some cool up-tempo stuff at Toronto, right?
They sure did. Toronto saw the debut of 192000 on the Humans tour featuring Kilo Kish.
That's pretty cool. All right, am I audible? Can you guys hear me? Somebody in the chat say something. Somebody... Let's see what the people in the chat say, if they can hear. I can hear you too. I can hear you great. Oh, that's bad. I can pipe you in via Skype, but like, I'd rather have all your great crisp vocals coming in high quality.
I figured it out. I'm on.
Cool. Nobody in the Discord is saying anything that makes.
Oh, that's okay. What do we don't need them.
That I can. We need them to confirm that they can hear us.
Somebody said I can hear both now. In fact, it's Hans who said that.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Hans.
What are we doing? I'm reviewing all the Song Machine songs right now.
No, we are here. Let's do a proper introduction. Dylan, we are here after so long away to do a new special live stream edition episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz, in which, yes, we will be discussing the Song Machine songs that have been released thus far.
But first, we're going to take a little walk down memory lane, one of my favorite streets in the municipality.
I know it well, and we're going to be heading down there to listen to an old classic episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz. I don't know if I want to say which episode exactly it is, let's spoil the surprise, but I will say that it came out in July of 2017, making it almost 3 whole years old, which feels insane.
And like 1,000 years worth of shit has happened. So really, It's like going way further back than that.
Mm-hmm. But
somebody just said live at the forum.
No, it's not a live episode. It's an old studio classic. One of my favorites.
I have one more guess. Can I try one more guess?
Sure.
Is it the 3-minute long one where I talk to my kid?
No, that would have been a good choice though. I wish I had that one all queued up and ready to go.
You could have looped it like you just looped Lake Zurich. Or I guess at that bandwidth, perhaps we should call it Puddle Zurich.
Anyway, let's get the show started. I'm going to queue up this old classic episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz. Hope you guys have as much fun listening to it as I am sure that I will. And Dylan, I hope you enjoy it too. Cool. Here we go. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Hello and welcome to Hallelujah Monkeyz for July 17th. My name is Dylan Flynn.
My name is Trevor Ickrath.
Partially for July 17th.
Also kind of for July 10th.
Yeah.
Because we had a bit of a tumultuous week.
This is a troubled episode, Trevor. This is like
a little bit. It's kind of the Frankenstein monster of the Hallelujah Monkeyz canon so far, in that it's very stitched together.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to hear a moment where suddenly, like magic,
we're going to jump back in time. I think
this part, as you're listening, was recorded, just moments before you hearing it, before me editing it, and then we're going to get all the way through the news, and then once we move into the round table, we're going to go back in time.
Yeah, we're going to cover last week's news, this week's news, and then we're going to get into our discussion of the girls' interview tape, so that'll be fun.
And then we'll probably come back in at the end, because I think the original ending to this episode was like, I don't know, whatever we talked about was like, okay, that's Hallelujah Monkeyz for this week. Donald Trump Jr. will never be ensnared with collusion with the Russians. I'm Dylan Flynn.
It's so long ago, I can barely remember those days.
So we'll probably jump back in there at the end.
Right, but before that, let's talk about the news.
It's all good news now.
In spite of, once again, us basically taking a week off, there's not that much to report on, Trevor. I mean, there's one huge thing to report on, of course, but let's look at the kind of satellite, tertiary, peripheral gorillas.
By the huge thing, I'm sure you mean this little snippet of Damon working in the studio on Humans we got about a week ago.
I mean, earth-shattering.
Really, like, super insightful kind of footage. It's him, I think, you see him maybe play around with, I don't know, something, but then he spends a good 30 seconds just making a cup of tea, and then the video's over.
Yeah, it's sort of like, oh, we're going to get a look inside of Damon making humans, and then it's sort of a joke. They sort of trolled you. You get to watch him make... I mean, look, if you want to go in freeze frame and step-by-step through it, there's certainly some office porn. You get to see, like, what Damon's workspace kind of looks like, and you get to see a couple of frames of him tapping away at a typewriter. But mostly this is just about the tea.
Looks like a good cup of tea, though, to his credit.
I imagine our boy can make a fine cuppa.
Know what else looks good? Noodles mocap bottle.
Looks really sick. I agree with you.
That was from, we saw that from the... what we're assuming is the strobe light video. Yeah,
Jamie Hewlett lately has been playing a little coy about that. Somebody was like, when's strobe light video coming out? And he's like, well, it'll be out when it's ready. I mean, you don't want me to finish it, or you don't want me to put it out before it's done, right? And then he added, and who said it was strobe light?
Out of body, fingers crossed. Oh, still hope.
Why not? Don't let the dream die. But yeah, Noodles' mocap model looks really good.
Looks like a cheetah.
Yeah, she's wearing her little cheetah outfit.
Although I thought Jaguar was supposed to be the corporate sponsor.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, Trevor.
Yeah.
This is why we pay you those big Patreon bucks for insight like that. I don't know. Yeah, it looks good. I'm excited to see the video. I mean, I want to wait until it's done.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Maybe we'll go frame by frame through the video.
I'm thinking two-parter for that one.
Yeah, and then Trevor, we can't get through an episode without nodding to our corporate overlord. So let's talk about Chelsea football.
Let's go back
Trevor.
let's get some football in. Let's talk about sports.
Hey, I'm not like Elvis Costello in the attractions. I do want to go to Chelsea. I don't know, Trevor. They keep releasing little clips of Tootie and David Luiz chatting together.
Nice little bromance going on.
So the first one they put out, I believe David taught Tootie how to salsa dance, and Tootie mentioned that David's hair makes him look like a cartoon character. And then the second one was like this boring, like, public access interview where he was just like, when you got the ball, do you like to pass the ball or do you like to hold on to the ball? And he's like, oh, sometimes I pass it. It's riveting.
One, I'm wary of gorillas interacting with anybody whose hair makes them look like a cartoon character after the whole Daily debacle.
Oh, yeah.
Two, you're joking, but I really did appreciate hearing more about how he prefers to play the game.
Really? That was an improvement over the...
I could have sworn he was going to be a passer kind of guy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Just looking at him.
Okay, Trevor, there's actually important gorilla shit happening. Some happened yesterday, some will happen today when this comes out. let's just try to jump in and talk about what we've got so far at the moment that we record this.
Are you talking about what we've seen on the North American Humans tour so far?
That's right. As we record this, we've got 5 dates. Here's what I want to do, Trevor. I want to say the date, the notable new songs, and then I want a hot take from you after I name each song. Okay?
Gotcha. Yes, please. After each song or each date? Let's do it by date.
You want to do it? Okay. We can do it by date. Other than the songs we mentioned, these set lists are what you would probably imagine.
Right. If you've been keeping up with the set lists through the tour so far, and also the other shows they've done, it's pretty standard fare. Mostly Humans and some cool stuff thrown in here and there.
Okay, so we started with Chicago, Trevor.
Chi-Town.
We got Broken. We got The Power featuring Little Sims and Clint Eastwood featuring Dell.
So immediately, Clint Eastwood featuring Dell, that's a big moment.
The second time it's happened this phase.
And the first time during a tour.
What do you think is going on there? Why didn't Dell play with the band on the Plastic Beach tour? Why didn't he play? Why hasn't he played with them until now?
Well, I've heard a lot of rumors that said Dell and Damon have never met before.
What's going on there? There's got to be a reason. They flew people all over the country.
I think I've heard he doesn't like flying.
Interesting.
I mean, apologies to Del the Funky Homo Sapien if he actually loves getting on planes, but I think I've heard that he's afraid of flying.
No, I think you're right. I remember hearing something like that too. I also saw on Twitter that there are going to be 3 Deltron 3030 dates this year with Dan and Kid Koala and Del together in like really random ass places. Like Jackson Hole is getting one. It's really odd.
Anywhere that Del could just ride his bike to.
What about we got The Power with Little Sims? That's interesting.
I guess that doesn't... I'm not super interested in that. Like, okay, like what did she do? Do you know what she did?
I think she wrote a verse. I think she wrote a verse that she did where Jenny Beth would normally do her part.
I mean, yeah, cool. I really like that they're kind of subbing in collaborators for ones that they don't have on hand. I'd probably rather see that in most cases than the screens. I think I might have said that already, but
no, I think that's exactly how I feel. I think whoever you have in the building, make the most use out of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that at the Demon Days Festival too, with Booty Brown taking over for most staff on Styla. That was really cool. I love that kind of stuff. Mix it up, Damon.
I mean, as much as the giant video Big Brother faces of the collaborators who aren't present are kind of a trademark of Gorillaz, I think most occasions we would probably rather see a live performance of a random collaborator, right?
There are where it works very well, I think, but it's just like this thing. Charger, like Grace Jones up on that screen, fucking cool.
Absolutely.
Like seeing Jenny Beth on screen wouldn't really do too much for me.
No, I agree.
Just not that performance.
Let's talk about the next day of the tour, which is Toronto.
We didn't talk about the fact that they played Broken, which is one of the very few plastic songs we've gotten on the tour so far.
That's true. Broken, one of the Plastic Beach deals. I think when we talked about this in the last content, you pointed out there's a kind of slow song overload at this point.
Yeah, this was also a problem I had when I saw Blur when they were touring behind Magic Whip. Just a lot of low energy stuff, and I loved hearing those songs.
This set, Trevor, would have had El Mañana, Busted in Blue, Tomorrow Comes Today, and Broken, which is
it's a lot of. Okay, I can sit down for this song.
I like all of those songs. It's a very different experience in a live setting, a down tempo kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little heavy on the slow stuff. I agree.
Right, but they played some cool up tempo stuff at Toronto, right?
They sure did. Toronto saw the debut of 19-2000 on the Humans tour, featuring Kilo Kish.
That's pretty cool. Did she just do Miho Hatari's part?
I think she did Miho's bit. The fandom has not been super forthcoming with the bootlegs just yet, so I haven't had a chance to hunt this down. But any place you can find for Kilo Kish to do anything on a Gorillaz for live performance, I'm all for.
Of course, yeah, she's been rocking it this entire phase. Definitely an MVP. But 19-2000, honestly, not really super into the idea of seeing that one live. I saw them do it for the Plastic Beach shows, and it's just kind of one of those like studio songs that just... I have this problem with a couple Gorillaz songs. It just sounds kind of janky when you perform it live as like a big band. It
does. The parts sound a little bit more like they don't congeal quite as well live.
It's very discordant. Yeah.
But I would be interested to see if they've got the Humans doing anything on there. That's one thing, is that like I'm willing to hear anything on this tour because they're making such good use of that giant vocal chorus.
And Dylan, with all the stuff Damon Albarn's been pulling out lately, you could hear anything.
That's true. It's kind of wacky. In fact, Boston, I think, might be the most exciting set list we've gotten so far.
Definitely.
That saw M1A1 played for the first time since 2002. That saw ticker tape with Carly Simon, the
Wild.
immortal Carly Simon. And it saw the live debut of Revolving Doors.
Not only the live debut of Revolving Doors, I believe the live debut of any fall song played in its entirety, right? I think they teased a little bit of Pink Plastic Bags.
Back on the Chicago date.
This is the first time they played a song from the fall live.
Super cool. And I did get to hear a snippet of this from somebody's Instagram, and the humans were singing the chorus, and it was sounding really cool.
I definitely would not mind seeing some fall material pop up in these set lists.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I guess if we were going to see anything on our date at the Forum, maybe we would hear like California and the Slipping of the Sun. If you're going to try to keep it location centered, because, Boston, Revolving Doors, that makes some sense.
Oh, that's so cool, thinking that this is his first Gorillaz American tour since being at those places where he wrote those songs. That's really neat. I didn't even consider that. Let's talk about the fact that they played M1A1. They opened the show with that, right? That's kind of wild.
And they've continued to open their sets with it, I believe, since then. I think maybe they didn't in one, but they did in the other two or something like that.
Anyone who's heard our second emergency episode knows I'm not really the biggest fan of M1A1.
And I'm a pretty big M1A1
You're
fan.
a pretty big fan of M1A1. It'd be cool to see him open with it live.
Because of the fact that it was used as an opener on the Phase 1 tour.
That's classic Phase 1 Gorilla shit we're talking about.
You know what I've kind of realized, Trevor? I think part of the reason why I love M1A1 as much as I do is that I associate it with that little bit of it that would play every time I would go to the Phase 1 Kong Studios.
Yeah, you really can't beat that kind of Pavlovian response.
For sure, yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited if they continue opening with it. I'm excited to see it, but more so, I'm just excited to see like what else he's going to pull out of the bag of tricks.
I would love to see ticker tape at our show.
That'd be awesome. I mean, it looks
That'd be like a top 5 one I'd want to see. I think.
Then we went to Philadelphia. Now this was not quite as much of a salad date as Boston, because there were no new debuts. I guess notable about that show, Trevor, was that Rain and Lightning delayed the main set.
Yeah, you know who I heard that from?
Who'd you hear from?
My mom, because she went to this show.
That's so amazing. So
yeah.
Explain. Now, I know your mom has been to both of the shows that you went to with her, right?
Yeah, my mom really likes Gorillaz. She's into the idea of being like kind of like hip, so she would kind of take the cool bands I would listen to as a teenager and like go like, oh, I'm into these too. I'm going to go to some shows.
That's both, maybe a little bit embarrassing, but very sweet.
Totally, yeah. But yeah, she's a big Gorillaz fan. She's seen them live 3 times, which I think is 3 times more than you've seen them doing. So
that's true. Bigger fan than me.
Maybe she should be doing this podcast.
The question is, were you surprised at all to hear that she continued the live Gorillaz experience without having you there to go with the show?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
I'm glad to hear that your mom is a Gorillaz fan. That's very cool.
And she really enjoyed the show. According to her, they didn't play Charger and they didn't play She's My Caller because they got rained out.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer, but I mean, it's notable in its own way, I suppose.
Yeah, but like missing Charger, like
that is rough.
Yeah, she was bummed about that one.
What about Quebec? Quebec was the most recent show as of this recording, and it was kind of a classic Humans tour set list. Except, finally, we have the full live in Phase 4 of On Melancholy Hill.
He played the whole thing.
Yeah, he played it for real. He sang it.
Finally, Damon. Only your 3rd fucking most streamed song on Spotify at all.
Do you think he just doesn't know because it didn't do anything as a single?
It's totally possible.
It is totally
possible. Aside from his iPad, he's a total technophobe, right? Not really a technophobe, but like he's a little behind.
Like verging on Ludditism, sort of.
Little bit. Slide the way, right?
I know. That's all the tunes that have been the surprise tunes that have been pulled out. But I did want to mention that 2 songs have been played at Soundcheck, which so far has been a pretty good. Yeah, Gravity. That has not been played at Soundcheck, which so far have been a pretty good predictor of what might fall out of the bag of tricks at a future date. So let's just briefly mention that several shows they've warmed up with To Binge.
Nice.
Using, I believe, a recording of the Little Dragon stuff.
Really? Interesting.
I think so.
I mean, get like Kelly Uchis on that song or something.
Sure, or Kalila or something.
Yeah.
And then Spitting Out the Demons!
Which is sick. Like,
I hope we get it.
Imagine if they start opening shows with that, like Damon did for his solo shows.
Hell yeah.
That would be so cool.
I'm all about it. Do you have a most wanted right now? I think my most wanted Gorilla song that I'd like to see make an appearance on this tour is Every Planet We Reach Is Dead.
Oh my God.
It's only ever been played at both of the Demon Days residencies. It's never been played outside of them. So I think it'd be really cool to dust it off for this tour.
The thing is, Ike Turner walking out and like sitting down at the piano and stuff is such a big moment in the live performance of the song. I'd really love to see how they are able to kind of keep that sense of drama even without that whole like, this is it moment. What song would I most like to see on the tour? Slow Country would be really cool, I think.
Yeah, I'm wondering why we haven't seen that crop up in sound checks yet, because it was this band knows how to play that song.
Yeah, that really, really nice version from that Damon
Live at the DDD.
Love that version. Yeah, that one's really good. I'd love to see the Gorillaz band take a spin at that one.
That'd be a cool one to throw a random Humans collaborator on too. While they're
definitely, yeah. Jamie Principle, right?
Sure, yeah. Throw Jamie on there for sure. Okay. So, do you have your time traveling approved wardrobe strapped on? And are there nothing's hanging off of your body that could be sucked away from you as you travel through this time tunnel, Trevor?
I am wearing the exact same clothes that I was wearing a week ago.
Oh, good. Then that means you probably won't be ripped in half as we fling ourselves back to last week.
Well, no, this way I can kill my past self and nobody will notice.
You just step right in and make a killing by betting on, I don't know what you're going to bet on.
Whether Donald Trump Jr. was colluding with the Russians or whatever.
All right.
Here we go.
You heard it here first. Trevor Ickrath, billionaire, betting on politics. Here we go.
Into the past and the round table.
This is evolution. If you're old, bald, or in the way, we'll push you over. Have you ever seen a fully grown naked man grasping his broadsword?
Okay, Trevor, this week we're getting into some obscurities, let's say, some paraphernalia.
Yeah, it feels like we're really finally digging into some serious Gorillaz lore, too.
This week we're going to be looking at the 2 Gorillaz interview promotional CDs. Like, what a weird format that certainly does not exist anymore.
But it is a format that serves this band so well.
Oh, absolutely. This is the perfect showcase for in-character wackiness and hijinks, and also sometimes for really insightful musical commentary, as we'll see. So how this worked, Trevor, so the first one is called the Apex Tapes, and the second one is called We Are the Dury. And how this worked was, if you were the program director of a radio station and you wanted to do a little something special for the new Gorillaz single that came out, you could edit together like a fake interview using this CD, because it doesn't have the DJ's questions, it just has the band's answers.
I will say I was aware of how it was formatted to work this way. I can't imagine that not sounding stilted as hell.
Oh, it would sound like garbage, but hey, it's the radio. How good? It's free.
Yeah,
what do you want?
Yeah, of course.
Especially because, the Apex Tapes especially, they insert a gap where you would say your question, but the gap is at the end of the track, which is really weird. So you'd have to kind of, I don't know, it's a headache in my opinion.
I'm sure at some point for some kind of Patreon or Kickstarter stretch goal, we will record our own fictional interview with the band using these tapes. But...
Yeah, we'll try to take them out of context. And so we're going to start with the Apex Tapes, the shorter of the 2. This came out in 2001 to promote the actual album releasing and the Clint Eastwood single and more. At a glance, Trevor, what did you think of the Apex Tapes?
This one I really didn't have much fun with.
I think I would have had more fun with it if I didn't have to make a show about it.
Yeah, but even then, the project almost feels kind of embryonic at this state. There's not a lot of deep explorations of the lore at all. A lot of them are just one word answers. We don't really learn too much about. Maybe I'm coming into this as a seasoned Gorillaz fan and I already know this stuff. So maybe it is more fun if maybe it is more informative too if you're not as familiar with the band as say 2 podcast hosts would be. But yeah, just there's not a lot to dig into here.
There are a couple of pieces of lore that I wasn't familiar with on revisiting this that were interesting. I'll say that to speak to your embryonic descriptor, the characters in general are a lot more one-dimensional in my opinion. It's sort of like Murdoch is a Satanist, 2D is dumb, and Noodle likes karate, and Russell struggles to find anything noticeable about his character.
The Noodle thing was rough to sit through, too. I think we talked a little bit about Japanese minstrelly on the last episode. Here it is out in full effect.
So Haruka Kuroda does Noodle's dialogue on this and on We Are the Dury. I think she struggles more than most of the cast. I think that, well, first of all, on Apex tapes in general, Remy Kabaka sounds real weird to me.
So does 2D. Like Nelson DeFreitas, he sounds really like I have no idea what I'm doing yet.
He gets very marble mouthy on this one, especially. Yeah. Phil Cornwell is solid.
Immediately. He was immediately like, yeah, I get Murdoch. I am Murdoch. Like, it's like a real testament to his chops here. He
puts it on like silk pajamas. It's no sweat.
On point from the word go.
And in a way, next to Damon Albarn's singing voice, Murdoch Nichols' speaking voice is probably the second most iconic vocal performance in the Gorillaz project.
It's his band.
It's his band, and he's great on this. Even though his outlook is a little bit more one-dimensional on this, he's still a lot of fun. But Haruka Kuroda and Nelson DeFreitas in general, I thought, really struggled to keep up, and Remy Kabaka too. He's speaking at a much higher register than we would come to know from Russell in later phases.
And none of them are really particularly served well by what I assume is the pre-written dialogue, because there just isn't a lot to sell here. So much of this is like just brief one-phrase answers that almost feel like something I would have written if I didn't have time.
Here's my take on that. So it's like 70 some odd tracks, and they're all like 12 seconds long.
Yep.
So there's nothing too meaty here, but it does definitely seem like Cass Brown, who I'm assuming wrote this teleplay, for lack of a better word, or this radio play, for lack of a better word, was more interested in dropping a lot of names and making a lot of obscure pop culture references.
Oh my God, I have no idea I'm a very well-cultured person. I like to consider myself very well-cultured, but I have no idea what they're talking about.
Well, guess who paused every time a name was dropped and dutifully Wikipedia'd them?
God fucking bless you. Now I know why it took you like 2 hours to get through this one.
Yeah, this one was rough for me. I didn't do nearly as much on Dury, because Dury, I think you can talk about in a different way.
There's this one part where they're like, stupid grooves are big on the record. Is stupid the new clever when it comes to music? And Russell says, stupid is the new clever, like Tom York was the new Marty Feldman. Now I know who Tom York is, but like, that's a nonsense sentence to like 90% of people, probably, right?
That's probably my favorite reference on the album, but we'll get to it. Let's just start in on the Apex tapes. I don't think we're going to like go track by track, obviously, because of the nature of this collection.
Right.
But I do just want to grab things that are interesting as we move through the interview, okay?
Yep, sure, totally.
I wanted to start with Murdoch's alternate names for Gorillaz.
Those are all fun, especially
they're all good.
He throws out Satan's scrotum.
Yep.
Thor's roar.
Solid.
And his and my personal favorite, number of the beats, which I believe would become
number of the beats.
Number of the beats, which I think would become a recurring Gorillaz kind of phrase throughout phase one, right? They put that on some stickers or something maybe like that.
Yeah, that's a hot name. That's could you imagine what would our podcast be called if it was called the number of the beats? Would we be like the 666 cast or something? I don't know.
Be pretty sick.
So they're still pushing the "we are here to challenge manufactured pop music" narrative, which today, Trevor, doesn't that seem like such a quaint goal for a Gorillaz album? Like, imagine if the next Gorillaz album was like, "We hate American Idol," like after they've taken on the giants of thermonuclear war and economic and ecological collapse, and it does seem like sort of cute and very small scale.
It is definitely wild to see how this band has grown in leaps and bounds, not just in terms of quality of content they're producing, but in terms of ambition and really what the project means to the people who are creating it themselves.
Yeah, the themes, and all that. They've grown just like the music has grown.
Themes, man.
I want to talk. I do want to have a conversation with you about Murdoch calling 2D a little faggot on this interview tape.
Yeah, how disappointing, right?
That was a little bit disappointing. I mean, look, in character-wise, I mean, Murdoch's a pretty wretched human being. He's been guilty of kidnapping and torture in his day. But I just think in the tone of the project, it bummed me out to hear this.
He almost calls him it again, too, in We Are the Dirty. Did you notice that?
In We Are the Dirty, but he stopped short. Like, is that progress? Is that what we're hearing?
Well, now he's both a feminist and an environmentalist, so he's...
Yeah, he certainly wouldn't be doing that today.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Yeah, while I don't think it's necessarily out of character for Phase 1 Murdoch, it feels out of step with the tone of Gorillaz.
Definitely, yeah.
It always seems like the Brits have been a couple of steps behind on homophobia is funny. There's something about like casual lad-based homophobia.
Girls have milked a bit of that humor over the years back in their early days, but I don't think it has been a very large part of the project.
But this definitely jumped out to me like that's weird. That's weird.
It's kind of like listening to like hip hop back from like the 90s when that kind of language also played like a larger role. Like you don't really see rappers throwing out homophobic insults too much anymore, to the point where when they do, it's kind of like a whoa moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to the point that when they do, that somebody's going to write a think piece about it.
Yeah.
Did you get the sense, Trevor, that at this point when this was recorded, it wasn't necessarily locked down whether or not Gorillaz were going to do any live performances?
They did seem to be covering their tracks here by saying that no one was interested in booking them after a riot broke out at their first gig at the Roundhouse. So, yeah, maybe there is some truth to that.
This will be a theme on both of these interview tapes where they talk about a Gorillaz live experience plans that change by the time the phase is said and done.
Yeah, they start talking about it again in We Are the Dirty, so we'll talk about that when we talk about that. Russell
and Noodle have a really great exchange about boy bands where Russell says, if you pay peanuts, you get Monkeyz, and if you pay top dollar,
you get Gorillaz.
You get Gorillaz. That's a good line.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good little quotables to pull from this interview, if nothing else.
Here's some lore that has no representation on the Gorillaz wiki. So get ready, nerds, to make a new page on the Gorillaz wiki. They make reference to their album being mixed by an in-universe engineer whose name is Todd the Tech.
I think that's one of the funnier moments too. The interviewer asks them how they managed to synthesize all their different sounds and influences, and 2D comes in like, I'll answer this one if you don't mind. And then he just says, we have this engineer named Todd, and he puts everything into the mixing disc, and then we're done.
He doesn't understand the process at all.
That's great.
Now, obviously, that's neither Tom Gerling nor is it Jason Cox. So this is a real character in the lore of Gorillaz.
Todd.
He engineered the first album. Somebody go digging. There's got to be something else about Todd somewhere in the supplemental materials.
Yeah, I mean, he would never show up again, though.
Maybe we'll read about him in Rise of the Yogurt. Maybe we've forgotten all about him.
Who are some other Gorillaz characters we're introduced to here? Does Johnny Bird count?
Johnny Bird counts. Johnny Bird's the whole thing.
Yeah, 2D. I kind of just wanted to read this verbatim.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so the interviewer asks, under what circumstances was the album recorded? And 2D jumps in and says, well, we recorded the album in Jamaica, and I was on the studio roof recording the vocal for Soundcheck.
Which we know is true. Damon did that shit,
yeah,
right?
That is based on Damon's actual recording of Soundcheck. And while I was singing, I was looking up at the stars, and this giant vulture that the locals called Johnny Bird swooped down and took me into the mountains and left me there with a Rastafarian medicine man called Wobbly. I stayed there for a week, and he fed me with vegan food and educated me in the ways of Ja Selassie the First, but I can't remember a word he said.
First of all, it's Selassie. Didn't you go to college and become a Rasta, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean...
Does 2D ever mention Rastafarianism again?
I don't think so, but Johnny Bird comes up later in the interview with Murdoch saying...
Yes, he does.
Johnny Bird is like this big vulture, with like Cuban heels, man, and he's got like these trousers, and they sort of lightly flared and nestling gently on top of his casual shoes.
Has there ever been an official rendering of Johnny Bird? Because he sounds magnificent.
Fan artists out there, tweet at us.
Draw some Johnny Bird. Maybe Jamie Hewlett will put into the still unfinished Humans live visuals.
Now that's some deep Gorillaz character lore, though.
Yeah, Johnny Bird. This is a perfect opportunity, Trevor, for us to talk about the concepts of zombie hip hop and dark pop.
Sure. Zombie hip hop or dark pop. I definitely had Gorillaz stuff tagged in my iTunes library as zombie hip hop and dark pop when I was like 14 years old.
Oh my gosh, me too. We were the same nerd.
Yeah, absolutely.
it seems a little bit forced, doesn't it? It seems like a move that wouldn't necessarily be made in this day and age of being like, we're this whole new. It seems very weird to me. I don't know.
Well, it's they're both better than the genres that the journalist asks them about, which are ghetto ghost punk beats and Sensi and bongo riffed simultaneous requiem and eulogy for pop.
Did they expect the DJs to read these fucking questions verbatim? Because I want to read one right now that we'll get to the answer for it later. But okay. I want to read you. This is the clunkiest question I've ever heard. Okay, are you ready? Right. M1A1 is the last track on the album, and it has a voice shouting, "Hello, is anyone there?" against an early phrased Howard Devoto-esque riff and a distinctly J.G. Ballard backbeat. How did that all come about? Are you really supposed to, like, first of all, let me point out, Howard Devoto, he's the lead singer of the lead guitarist of the Buzzcocks, which is like, okay, I guess, right?
Sure.
J.G. Ballard is a fucking writer. He's a novelist. So what does that even mean?
One of my favorite interview questions, though, like, you know, the band wrote these interview questions for the people who would be interviewing them to read. So one is, 5/4 is a great stomping tune with a lyric that says, "She killed my daddy, and then she made me kill myself." What's all that about? And then the band corrects, then the band is supposed to correct them saying, "No, it's not she killed my daddy, it's she turned my dad on." Why have the interviewer get it wrong? Why not just ask, what does she turned my dad on mean? Why?
They've written you a dumb little skit to perform it, Trevor.
It's like, I don't know, there's so much stuff about the Apex tapes that, like, I don't really connect with and just kind of falls flat for me and leaves me scratching my head. The interview questions are definitely one of them. But without them, you're just left with, like, these little brief, like, 5-second Gorillaz quotes that mean nothing in a vacuum.
Yeah, totally out of context otherwise, you know what I mean? Okay, you mentioned it earlier, but at this point on the Apex tapes, they decided to take a few shots at Radiohead.
Yeah, in quick succession as well. Like, I think it's 2 questions back to back. Yeah, they ask them, would you be interested in doing like taking a full blown experimental approach like Radiohead has? And Murdoch just goes, "I'm not interested in going down any road Radiohead has been down." But
much lower, Trevor, is the Marty Feldman comparison. So Marty Feldman, Trevor, have you ever seen the movie Young Frankenstein?
That's one of my few Mel Brooks blind spots, actually.
Well, speaking of blind spots, it stars an actor named Marty Feldman, whose most notable feature is his giant bulging eye.
Okay.
So,
that's mean. That's mean. That's punching down, guys. That's, yeah, for our listeners who aren't like very fluent in Radiohead, Tom York has a lazy eye that like frequently is the subject of some humor. But yeah, it's just kind of mean.
Especially coming from Russell. I don't know about that.
Phase One Russell was kind of mean. I mean, he beat up 2D in the G-Bites.
Okay, so then at this point on the album, Russell and Murdoch really stick it to some guy named Mick Hucknall.
Were you able to find out who that is?
Yes, I did, Trevor. He seems to be kind of a nerdy white soul rocker, kind of in the vein of like a Phil Collins figure, who was in a band called Simply Red.
Oh, Simply Red. They do right? True?
I guess, probably.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he supported the invasion of Iraq and he's like a center left stooge. So yeah, make fun of that dude, whatever. Fuck
okay. Yeah, sure. But leave Tom York alone.
Leave Tom York alone, and certainly don't make fun of his eye. That's dumb.
Nobody's taking care of Tom York.
According to 2D, 5/4 is about Lindsay Dawn McKenzie, Trevor, a famous British adult film star who kind of like
would give his dad a boner.
She hit that Jenna Jameson, I'm also a celebrity level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the UK. And then while discussing Clint Eastwood, Junior Dan is referred to as Augustus Pablo's bassist. Now, Augustus Pablo kicks ass. Augustus Pablo...
Oh, he's one of the greats. One of the greats.
If you've never heard the album King Tubby's Meets Rockers Uptown, it's like a hugely influential dub album. I think some people even call it like the first real dub album or something like that.
If you're a big fan of the sounds that Gorillaz was messing with on the self-titled, and you were like, hey, maybe I want to get a little more into dub reggae, Augustus Pablo is definitely one of the first names you should reach for.
Yeah, anything by King Tubby and Augustus Pablo and anything where they work together, you're definitely going to hear those roots of that sound and that stuff.
Very influential, innovative member of the reggae scene.
I don't have much else to say about the Apex tapes, Trevor, except for I did laugh that they were forced to talk about the Ed Case refix.
Yes. Well, how did they describe that as well? It was pretty funny.
Oh, I didn't take any specific notes about that. I just laughed at the idea of them having to pay some lip service to it because it was a hit in the UK.
Here's how Murdoch described the origin. The Boom Boom Bling Bling boys were at the studio next door to ours, and they stole some master tapes and some stickers and went to Radio 1's Stream Team. And then Tootie says, no, we got it done for nothing, and you got it on stage and did a live PA high on rum punch. And Murdoch just responds, same thing in my books.
But do you think that the band was like behind the scenes annoyed that they had to write any lore involving the fucking Ed Case refix of Clint Eastwood?
I'm positive.
Murdoch name checks Mick Jones, future gorilla.
And Russell actually name checks Mos Def later on as well.
There's a few name checks that happen. I believe Dennis Hopper also got mentioned in the Apex tapes at one point, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. They talked about when did they mention him?
Oh, I don't remember. I think it was when Murdoch has to give an example of what he views as the pinnacle
of success for gorillas. Yeah.
I would say that's spooky that they called out all these people who would be future Gorillaz collaborators, but I guess you would if you name check literally every famous person in the world. Maybe
they used these interview tapes as a point of reference for when they were on the hunt for new collaborators. They would go back to the Apex tapes and say, let's see what ones of the names here that we said we could probably get to collaborate on the album. You think that's how they did it?
Maybe so. That could be it. Okay, I'm gonna take a moment to just talk to you in depth about the Rock the House question.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Because in my opinion, it's nonsense, and I need you to help me understand it. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So Rock the House, the journalist describes as a funky dance thing with another fine rap from Dell. But then he says it's at odds with their Ibiza Super Club Superstar DJ garage tendency in dance music. So
what the fuck?
What do you think of the state of club music for the masses?
What is that question? First of all, like it took a weird, like how do you end up with what do you think of club music from from that weird ass? And then 2D says, well, in the same way that Hazy Fantasy can mutate into Jeremy Healy, taking the punky fun song to the dance floor for a beeper and still maintain the size to leg ratio. Yeah, but you can't turn a fat boy into a house mutton, right?
And Russell chimes in with, I think we all know what Chuck D had to say about that good old boy.
So he's referring to John Wayne. That part I can actually explain to you, but let's back up first. Hazy Fantasy was a British pop band from the 80s.
Okay.
Jeremy Healy was their frontman.
Sure.
And knowing both of those things does not make 2D's response make sense.
Well, he was in a car accident.
That's a good point. So then, yeah, Murdoch says, what has John Wayne's big leggy got to do with anything? And Russell says, I think we all know what Chuck D had to say about that good old boy. This part I do understand. So in the song Fight the Power, Trevor, Chuck D has the following famous verse. Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me, you see. Straight up racist that sucker was, simple and plain. Motherfuck him and John Wayne. If you doubt Chuck, by the way, here's a line from John Wayne's 1971 Playboy magazine interview, okay?
Sure.
He said, I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people.
Yikes.
Motherfuck John Wayne. Fuck that guy.
Wow. Okay. What happened with all those Western dudes? I mean, Clint Eastwood is like a super far-right Republican, right?
I know, but that makes Clint Eastwood seem like a fucking, multiculturalist.
Yeah, that makes him seem like a kind of grumpy racist uncle, but yeah, that's pretty...
For sure. There's some mention of Ian Brown, the lead singer of the Stone Roses, which Russell says he has more monkey in him than Mickey Dolenz, who's in the Monkeyz, so I understand half of that reference. Trevor, what's going on? What was Cass Brown doing when he wrote this shit?
I really have no idea. Like, there's so much stuff here that just doesn't connect to anything else here.
Here's a really good. I like this line. Russell describes the band's the dynamic of the band thusly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "We all love each other except Murdoch, who hates us and himself equally."
That is the classic soundbite from this interview. Yeah, I think. And then 2D chimes in with, "Oh, I love you, Murdoch." Cute little moment.
He kind of growls at him.
Yeah, I like when 2D calls Biggie Smalls Fatty Smalls, and Russell gets upset about it and goes, Fatty Smalls. I keep telling him Biggie Smalls, man, forgive him. He knows not what he says.
But even in a car accident, like you said.
He's in a car accident.
We move into a little one-on-one with each band member. Let me just grab a couple of highlights in those, okay? Murdoch name checks Lemmy. Rest in peace, Lemmy.
Noodle name checks Graham Coxon.
And that's interesting. What was the state of Graham Coxon and Damon's relationship in 2001? Do you know offhand, Trevor?
They hadn't, Graham didn't split with Blur until Think Tank, which I believe was 2003. So they were still on good terms here. So a nice little shout out to his buddy. Whose one-on-one interview questions do you like best? Who do you think did the strongest segment here? My favorite was probably actually Noodles, because I like the interplay between her and Russell a lot.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Even though Haruka Kuroda's vocal performance is like very shrill and tough to get through, you don't hear these two paired off enough, and I like the kind of warmth between them.
Well, they also are very you say you don't see that dynamic a lot, but they're very closely tied together, I think, on We Are the Dirty too. They do a lot of interplay back and forth.
They're kind of the stars of We Are the Dirty.
In my opinion. They carried the thrust of the conversation for sure, which I was kind of surprised by.
The only other thing I want to say about Apex Tapes before we move on, Trevor, is that this was in a snapshot in time in which 5-4 was still supposed to be the second Gorillaz single.
Yeah, that's like one of the last tracks on here, them promoting 5-4 as one of the singles.
Oh, you're listening to our lovely single called 5-4.
This was the part of like I could see why they saved this for last, because this is where I was really worn down by these.
And yet, Trevor, I guarantee you that these last few tracks were played more on the radio than any of the rest of this tape.
I'm positive, yeah.
Because they would have used them to bump the single. They wouldn't have bothered to edit a stupid interview skit together with these dumb questions. No, but you should. It's only, look, it's only 20 minutes long. So if you haven't listened to Apex Tape, you owe it to yourself just in terms of hearing a starting point of Gorillaz lore and like them figuring these characters out. I think it's worth that as a document.
Yeah, you'll definitely have a good time. But yeah, fun stuff here. Not as fun as We Are the Dirty, I don't think.
We Are the Dirty is fucking great.
We Are the Dirty is probably my single favorite piece of Gorillaz lore.
So I found myself, I don't know if you had this experience, Trevor, I found myself forgetting to take notes a lot during this, just because I was like genuinely engrossed by what I was hearing, and like I had to keep jumping back.
And you know what? I was such a fucking Gorillaz nerd as a teenager. I listened to this so many times, like a lot of it didn't even seem new to me.
Oh, sure. It'd been a while for me. I think I'd probably listened to it when it came out and hadn't listened since.
There were definitely some different things I noticed about it than I noticed about it back when I was a kid. But yeah, a lot of it was very familiar.
Let's talk about the voice cast. So Remy Kabaka sounds perfect now. He sounds exactly like you want Russell to sound.
Everybody sounds perfect. And one of my favorite things is they all sound like cartoons.
Agreed. And I know that Remy is not a professional voice actor, but boy, I think it would be a real mistake to recast him for the show. I think his Russell voice is really good. Kuroda has a lot more to do now that Noodle speaks English. The accent is still a little bit dicey because it's not her accent, and to be honest, it sounds at times like she's slipping out of it.
Yeah, I also noticed that at times too. But still, I think she does a really good job.
In the first half of the album, Trevor, I don't know if you noticed this, but it seemed like they caught her on a bad voice day, and she struggles a lot early on to stay in Noodle's register. There are a few answers where she sounds like a 45-year-old woman trying to sound like a 14-year-old woman. But then on the back half of it, she really finds the groove, and you're like, oh yeah, this is Noodle. This is what Noodle sounds like.
I think the interplay between the band even gets better as like everybody kind of ramps it up as the interview goes on.
The only change between Apex Murdoch and Dury Murdoch, Trevor, is that Phil Cornwell found that new kind of Dudley Moore drunk stuttering affectation, where
which would like, almost like go on to become too much in Phase 3, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
He was stuttering almost as much as he was talking.
But it's very charming on this one.
Yeah, it's a very old British rock star kind of aesthetic, too.
We almost can go track by track through this, Trevor. I mean, like, obviously we don't have to talk about each track for very long.
Wouldn't that be meta as hell, us doing a track-by-track review of the band doing a track-by-track review of one of their albums?
I think it's going to happen, because I have little notes interspersed throughout here.
But can we just talk about, like, this is such a special release for me, because this is my favorite album of all time. And to have this little like recording of one of, I think, the most interesting bands in recent memory, if only because, they're characters. One of the most interesting bands
in
recent memory talking about my favorite album of all time in depth. That's just like, this was made specifically for me. I wish I had something like this for every album that I liked.
Exactly. Imagine if there was an equivalent recording of like the Beatles talking about Sgt. Pepper's,
Exactly.
or
It would be like I would settle for a very strong We Are the Dory kind of equivalent for every phase. I know we got Murdoch's Pirate Radio in phase 3, and that was pretty cool. I think it could have been a little better with like I would have loved to gotten a little more 2D and Noodle in that one. I know Russell wasn't canonically available, but I'm sure they could have worked him in somehow.
And we will be covering Murdoch's Pirate Radio later in the season, by the way.
And I wish it was a little more about the music and not so lore driven, because this has tons of lore in it, but they mainly get it out of the way first, and then you're just left with this really
drop
nice
in
kind
little
of
bits here and there. Drop in little bits.
But then for the most part, you're really just left with this kind of deep dive into Demon Days, not only in how it was made by the characters, but them talking about the music as well, which is just really interesting all the way through. Let's talk about the beginning, though, because we kind of get this what's been going on with the band since the self-titled came out, and they went away after kind of Gorillaz blew up.
Oh, yeah. Can I throw this out? Well, my first note on We Are the Dory is, Gorillaz lived in the Hollywood Hills. That's where Trevor is.
We were neighbors for a little. Well, we would have been if I was here back then. But yeah, that's fun to think about them kind of showing up to Playboy parties and Murdoch getting kicked out of the mansion for stealing ashtrays. That's a very good bit.
There's a lot of focus on the failed Gorillaz movie, Celebrity Harvest. It's essentially used to explain where they went in between the self-titled and Demon Days.
Right, and Noodle, I think, describes Celebrity Harvest as it was going to be like a kind of series of non sequiturs of the band just going in and out of these kind of surreal situations, much like, I guess, a movie the Monkeyz did called Head.
Yeah, Head, which is a weird-ass movie that I believe Jack Nicholson helped finance.
Maybe we'll watch that and review it sometime for the podcast.
The two big pieces of lore that are brought up here first and will be referenced throughout We Are the Dory is that Murdoch found himself in a Mexican prison,
right?
Which we saw a little vignette last week on Slow Boat to Hades. We see a little ident of him in that prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then Russell had some kind of a mental and spiritual breakdown.
And wound up living in the basement of someone who may or may not have been Ike Turner?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Does that mean that canonically, does the guy playing piano on Every Planet Where We Reach is Dead, is he ambiguously maybe not Ike Turner?
I think that is for sure Ike Turner. I don't know if the guy he stayed with was Ike Turner. So I can see Russell in the studio trying to talk to the real Ike Turner about these days he spent in his basement, and Ike Turner just kind of having to politely be like, oh yeah, and just not knowing really what's going on the entire time.
Nelson DeFreitas still has a little bit of a marble mouth. I'm just going to say it.
I think he's great here. I think he's totally on point.
I think every now and then he just has elocution issues. It's not surprising to me that he's the gorilla that was recast in advance of the TV series.
I don't know, man. I think he's really good here. I do think, though, who's the new guy?
Kevin.
We really should know this. I feel bad every time we don't know his name, because he is doing a really good job as 2D, and he's established some like really strong chemistry with Phil Cornwell very quickly. So props to him.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That is true.
As much as I think Nelson DeFreitas is still the definitive 2D for me, I have no problem with this new guy whatsoever. I think he's doing great, and I'm happy to have him as 2D.
Can we move into some Kong Studios stuff here?
Sure, yeah, because we get a lot of Kong Studios talk.
Yeah, let's go through it. So it was established in 1999 as Kong Studios when they moved in. It was built on a plague cemetery. My favorite, maybe the biggest laugh I had on the whole album, whatever you want to call this, the whole tape, was when Murdoch was talking about how back in plague times he'd just be dumped into a mass grave, and then 2D says, poor people, and then Murdoch says, yeah, poor people. It's like the disconnect between, he didn't understand that 2D was saying, I feel sad for those people. He's like, yeah, the poor people.
Yeah.
They got dumped in the hole.
I like when he talks about having zombies stuffed up the chimney flues, and Kitty's like, we have chimney flues. And Murdoch goes on this long explanation of how zombies and chimney flues is a metaphor for things that were like Stripe that was blocking up their creative channels. And Kitty's like, oh, and he goes, no, we actually do have a bunch of zombies stuck up the chimney flues.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, at one point it was owned by a biker gang called the Nomads, who all burned alive in it. Russell keeps referencing, by the way, that he's had some mental problems.
Right.
I don't know exactly how that went down, Trevor, but he seems to be in a spiritually and emotionally confused place right now.
Well, I believe the impetus for his mental problems was the exorcism of Dell from his body, right?
Yes, because it's established that they were high school buddies.
Right.
Dell died and then possessed him for a while.
Yeah, and at some point after the self-titled came out, he was exorcised, and that kind of drove Russell into some kind of hyper-depressive manic episode or something like that, which
like splintered his consciousness or something.
wound up with him in, quote, Ike Turner's basement. But who among us has not at one point been in, quote, Ike Turner's basement?
It's true, yeah, in the weeds, so to speak.
Yeah.
Then they do a very straight-faced, almost out-of-character commercial for Gorillaz.com where they're like trading off sound bites, like, you can play games and visit the different band member rooms, and there's almost no in-character writing at all.
Well, hey, I mean, with the amount of work that Jamie had put into this website, I can see why he'd be interested in, like, actually selling it.
Yeah, he just like cast no funny business. Tell them to go to the website.
Tell them how good the website is, please. Just cut it with the deep references for a second. Don't compare the website to like any actors from the 60s. Just tell them to go. It's a lot of fun, I promise. I worked so hard on this, dude.
And then Danger Mouse is mentioned to have discovered the Kong Studios underground. I like when they weave collaborators into the lore.
Me too. That's great. And I like when they have them playing especially important roles in the lore like that too.
Yeah.
Like I can just see like Danger Mouse pulling down some kind of wall and finding his way into a new area of the studio.
They ask about the recording of Demon Days. So this is where we get the official statement. Russell says this was Noodle's vision.
Right. Noodle recorded a lot of it. She laid the groundwork, a lot of it by herself. Murdoch says that he left some demos for her, but 2D clarifies that those were just tapes of him humming.
Yeah, it sounds like those were largely just discarded.
Yeah.
Murdoch was still in jail when Noodle wrote most of the album, apparently.
Well, none of them had made it back to Kong Studios yet, right? I think they say that 2D is the first time he shows up again, and he starts laying down some vocals.
I believe that's the timeline, yes. And then Russell, at one point, Trevor, claims that Danger Mouse had made a bunch of money on the Grey album. That's not how I know that story. In fact, I was unable to do much research because of how crazy my life has been. But the apocryphal story, Trevor, I don't know if you remember, is that Danger Mouse was being sued by EMI for unlicensed use of the Beatles on the Grey album.
Of course.
And then when Damon hired him to produce Demon Days, they had to drop their lawsuit and hire him.
Huh. Interesting.
That's how I always heard that story.
Worked out pretty well for him, right? Can you imagine just putting an underground mixtape together of like just a Beatles and Jay-Z mashup thing and like just the dude from Blur picking you up because of it?
I know, what a different time. Like
Damon was really that impressed by the Grey album because I remember listening to it and thinking like, oh, this is cute.
Well, the mashup album was still very new. It was still very new.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, certainly in that context of pitting one artist against another, that was a different take on that format,
I guess.
But I wonder if maybe they had met at some social or professional functions and felt that they had good chemistry or something like that.
Possibly. Who knows? Yeah.
My favorite moment on this, though, is when Murdoch mentions that Danger Mouse looks like David Blaine with a wig on. I think that's actually kind of accurate. And then at one point, Russell confirms that it is 2005 when he says, some of the later collaborations were delivered via digital phone lines from around the world.
Wow. Gorillaz has always been at the cutting edge of technology. I mean, I remember when they were doing some promo for Internet Explorer in 2010.
Microsoft add them to the pile.
So then we kind of get into a classic Hallelujah Monkeyz style track-by-track dissertation on every one of the songs on Demon Days, which honestly, like, I fucking live for this shit.
What a joy to listen to. I mean, we won't go in painstaking detail of everything they said, but let's certainly throw out some interesting bits as we get to them, huh?
Sure, yeah. I mean, where do you want to start?
On Last Living Souls, Russell refers to it as a harmonious battle between digital and acoustic, which I really like.
Definitely, yeah, that checks out.
And then Murdoch says that if you listen close, you can hear some old geezer coughing in the background.
Did you go back to Last Living Souls and crank the volume, listen on headphones, see if you could pick that out?
No.
Me
no,
neither.
I
Yeah.
didn't.
But hey, if you did, and you can confirm or deny that, tweet at us.
Yeah, level boost it and send it to us, and then we'll post it. We'll post it everywhere. We'll play it on the next episode.
They throw out a couple cool more descriptors about some of the early tracks too. Like they say, "Kids with Guns" sounds like nighttime maneuvers, which I think that's a pretty good, accurate description. They describe "Oh Green World" as a march of the madman.
Yeah, I like that too. And also in "Oh Green World," here's some fun lore. So apparently, if you listen carefully in the background, you can hear ghostly growling and whispering in the background of O Green World. Now, doesn't that? I didn't have a chance to Google this, Trevor, but doesn't that have a name when a ghost makes an appearance on an audio recording? That has some kind of that phenomenon has a name.
That's called electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, I believe.
EVP, that's right. Yeah, and that's so much fun to think that because Hong Kong Studios is like such a fucked up haunted place that of course there'd be some ghostly apparitions on any album that you make there.
Yeah, and I mean if that's going to show up on a song on Demon Days, it's Oh Green World is definitely going to be the one.
And I like when Murdoch says, "Ask not for whom the bell toll, it tolls for thee." And 2D says, "That sounds like my alarm clock." They're silly guys. They're silly good guys, Trevor.
But the interplay between the band here is so much fun and so much more. It feels so much more kinetic than it did on Apex.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, they feel like an organism that works together. You know.
Yeah, like it's not quite like you can tell it's not. It's clearly scripted, but just the voice actors are playing off each other so well. It's just really great to listen to.
Then we find out, at least in lore, that it was Danger Mouse's idea to add the children's choir to Dirty Harry. That was a Danger Mouse move, according to the band.
And 2D threw on some keyboards that he heard on Sesame Street.
Yes, and much ado is made about Russell's drumming on this track and how cut up it is. There's actually a really great video, Trevor. I think I've sent it to you before. I'll post it on the Twitter. It only has like 300 views. It's like a behind the stage view of Gabe, the live drummer of Gorillaz, like shredding at a Plastic Beach tour date on Dirty Harry, and it is a madcap drumming performance for sure.
Well, much ado is made about Russell's drumming in general on this interview tape. In one of my favorite segments of the entire listen, there's this, like, towards the end when they're talking about possible live dates, just all of the band members kind of start circle jerking about Russell's live drumming abilities.
Yeah, it's like the only thing that everybody agreed with on the album is that Russell's a great drummer.
It's such a good joke about the fact about, the lack of live drums in Gorillaz studio recordings.
Right.
Russell's such a great drummer. He's the best live drummer in the world. Yeah, he's really good. Russell, he's such a good drummer. And then Remy just goes, "Thanks."
Very good. Okay, so we find out on Feel Good Inc. that Posdnuos owes Murdoch £5. I wonder if he ever settled up. That's important to know.
And apparently they were huffing nitrous oxide before doing their rap.
I like that too.
Yeah.
What about the multiple mentions about megaphone effect on 2D's voice, meaning that it's like a memory or a message from the past?
See, that's never how I interpreted it, but I mean, that's definitely an interesting way to look at it.
Well, especially in the wake of Humans, where that effect is used, pretty much exclusively used on all of 2D's vocals.
This actually brings up something that I wanted to discuss, in that I think the band here almost has a tendency to misinterpret Damon's and, to an extent, their own music, which I think is kind of funny. Like, a lot of the stuff they were saying about these tracks doesn't really line up to the way I've seen them. And I know that's kind of establishing my interpretation as being the definitive one, which, clearly doesn't. But stuff that they're saying here just doesn't really connect with me. Like, at one point, Russell says Dare is about camaraderie and about how even when things look dark, there are these high moments, which is just something I've never gotten from Dare.
No, me either. It almost seems like there's like an in-universe read of the album and an out-of-universe read of the album.
Right. And again, when they talk about fire coming out of the Monkeyz head, Noodle basically goes like, "Oh yeah, it's the happy people's fault too for not fighting back."
Really weird. What the fuck?
Just these colonialized people who are victims of imperialism. Yeah, if they'd done a little bit more to fight back, they probably could have saved the world.
Russell refers to El Mañana as a digital soul song. I thought that was a nice soundbite.
I really like Noodle's comparison to the opening kind of sirens and keyboards as waking up in a sensory deprivation tank. That immediately had me going back and listening to that song.
I like Murdoch does call Courtney Love a bloke at one point, which we know for a fact that he knows what she's got going on down there.
Right. As we saw in the MTV Cribs episode, yeah.
He's had her. He wishes he hadn't, but he has had her.
Is this also where we got Christina Aguilera referred to as a dude?
Yeah, I think it is. So
Gorillaz still haven't kind of bucked that transphobic humor, which is, disappointing, but...
Not surprising. You know what's interesting about the November Has Come breakdown, Trevor? Is that the band just reads MF Doom's Wikipedia page.
And Murdoch mentions that he was listening to Mad Villain when he crashed his moped or something.
That's like the one bone throw of in-character writing, but otherwise they're like, MF Doom is a rapper. He used to be called Zevlov X. He's released some album as MM Food. The MF stands for Metal Face, and Doom refers to Dr. Doom from the Fantastic. Like, they're just...
He's got a long history people should know about. What I like more is Russell just straight up reading Booty Brown's lyrics from Dirty Harry. He's like very serious and straight faced. Like, I'm the reason you can fill up your Azusa.
Right, which isn't the lyric.
No.
I'm the reason why you fill up your Azusa. But whatever, Russell. Okay. This is my favorite piece of writing on this whole thing, Trevor. Have you ever had to write something that wasn't very interesting and you're finding a way to keep it fresh for yourself?
Totally.
This is what Cass Brown had to do when he was writing the interviewers' questions for these track-by-track prompts, because he basically just has to rewrite, the next song is this. Why don't you say something about it over and over again?
Right.
So all alone, 10 songs into this track-by-track breakdown, he wrote, All Alone follows, track 10 on the new Gorillaz CD, Demon Days. That's the writing of a man who is very bored. Very bored.
Obviously very tired of this project by this point. Yeah, definitely.
But they do talk about Roots Manuva and how they had like this long relationship with him leading up to Demon Days. I wonder how much that's rooted in truth.
And they call him, they say he's at the forefront of UK hip hop.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to digging into Roots' solo stuff, because I gotta say, that's a big blind spot for me in Gorillaz collaborator material.
The album that I believe he put out recently before Demon Days was I think it was Run Come Save Me. Very good record. I'm excited to talk about that with you too.
I think it's always, featured on like best British rap album lists or whatever. So I'm very excited to listen
I think
to it.
I think it won the Mercury Prize.
It may have. You may be right about that. That sounds familiar. Okay, this might be the actual most substantial breakdown of any song on We Are the Dury, which is their very lore-intensive description of White Light.
Right, yeah. Do you think this is real, or do you think the band is in-universe doing a bit here?
I think that this is all legit lore.
Yeah? You don't think that...
I take all of this.
You think White Light does not canonically have 2D vocals on it?
I think canonically, so let's break down what they say, okay?
Sure. Okay.
So the guitar on White Light supposedly is being played by one of the inmates who Murdoch was in jail with. And in order to help Murdoch escape, his payment was that he demanded to be featured on the new Gorillaz album.
That's kind of a recurring joke throughout We Are the Dury, that Murdoch escaped from the jail in Mexico with help from some of the other inmates, and now he, as Russell puts it, now he owes them. And they pop up a couple more times in the conversation, including at the end when they actually call Murdoch on his cell phone.
Yeah, and it sounds like a British man trying to sound like a Mexican dude.
Yes, yeah. I do like, though, that after Murdoch tells him he has to go, the Mexican inmate goes, "Have a nice day."
This is the scrutiny moment where I think you're in Camp A and I'm in Camp B, but they kind of end this with a bit of a punchline where 2D says, yeah, and they're talking about the theme of the track being about the relentlessness of alcoholism.
Right.
And they kind of end with this bit where 2D was like, yeah, the vocals were just delivered by this drunk tramp who we found on the street. And then Murdoch says, who you calling a drunk tramp? So
right.
Punchline there is that Murdoch was the drunk person doing those vocals. The question is, are we to take this as
gospel? Yeah. So
that this is a Murdoch vocal track?
Is White Light a Gorillaz song, or is it Murdoch featuring Mexican inmates?
Plus a choral arrangement that I'm sure Noodle did.
Yes. Yeah.
I like to think that that's official. I like that.
It's a cute little detail. Yeah. I don't know. It also seems like the band could be doing a bit here, especially with Murdoch jumping in and going like, "Who are you calling a drunk tramp?" Like that's something he would say to kind of like, as a joke.
But it also almost goes a little ways to explaining why White Light is there and why it's so different than everything else,
Right, it kind of explains its existence in the first place.
You mentioned the Dare thing. I do like that Russell calls it part Clash, part Madonna, but Murdoch doesn't like that description.
He says it doesn't sound anything like Madonna, right?
He says that, yeah, it's got nothing to do with Madonna, and then they rehash the It's Their Dare story, which I think I've gone on the record. I think that story is bullshit.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. They clearly are doing bits about their own music here.
I think in universe that is the story.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This is probably the origin point for the for that story too, right?
I think so. This predates any of the single pre-release run up to Dare, so that would make sense.
One of the great persistent questions in the Gorillaz canon, I think, was it supposed to be? It's there.
Yeah, I'd be shocked.
I really don't think so either.
But you know what? Who knows?
Who knows? Anything can happen with Sean Ryder.
Rest in peace, Dennis Hopper. Noodle met him at an award ceremony, and apparently he was already a Gorillaz fan, and that's cute. I like that.
And he was going to buy Murdoch's Winnebago, and he only ended up doing the collaboration so Murdoch would knock a few dollars off the price.
Yeah, I wonder if did he buy it? I wonder if and also now that he's dead, did that pass on to his next of kin? Where's Murdoch's Winnebago? Find Murdoch's Winnebago.
That needs to come back, right? Phase 4.
That's what everybody wants. I do like that Russell does have something very insightful to say, which is that like popular culture views Dennis Hopper as a symbol of like excess and drug use and stuff, but in reality he's like this very spiritual, inward looking man, you know?
Just kind of like how people view Sean Ryder as like a tough guy Mank, but according to Murdoch, he's really just a big pussycat.
Yeah, he's like a posh, high English.
Yeah, do I have time to lay down some of my singing before we retire to the drawing room? Marvelous. Super.
I totally accept that as Gorillaz canon. That's true. In Gorillaz canon, Sean Ryder's putting the whole thing on. They barely say anything about Don't Get Lost in Heaven. They call it a transition over and over and over. And then Murdoch goes, get on with it. I got a plane to catch.
Yeah, he gets very bored here.
And throughout, he's kind of annoyed whenever they start waxing political or philosophical. It's kind of his ongoing bit.
That kind of annoys me, actually. I mean, like, it's never fun for the artist to not be feeling it as much as you want them to be. And here it's just kind of almost lame that they kind of wrote that into the interview. I get why it's played for laughs, but yeah, I'd rather hear him be doing something else here.
And then in Demon Days, Trevor, do you remember back in our fall review how you mentioned that one of the character traits of 2D is his sort of secret Zen master ability to like pull something deep out of nowhere in spite of his limited intellectual ability?
Yes, and I mentioned that specifically because of the little monologue he gives here talking about what Demon Days, the song, means to him. Like
I think it's really beautiful.
It's really nice. I've heard people say that this has really touched them, like deep down.
I thought that in spite of it being kind of maybe set up for a little bit, a punchline that Murdoch says afterwards, I actually think that this is some really lovely writing about, I don't know, the nature of creative endeavor and what people are trying to do when they are creating things.
Why we make things, yeah.
In fact, you know what? I kind of just want to drop it in here and let you, because I think Nelson does a really good job with the delivery on this too. I'm just going to drop it in here. I'm not going to play Murdoch's little joke.
Let's play a clip from that, yeah.
You remember when you were a little kid and you would look at the clouds in the sky as the sunlight bounced off them? And something that simple will make you feel a part of everything and all alone at the same time. And that feeling's not something you can ever put into words. So you spend your whole life chasing it, making music, taking pictures, painting, whatever, in the hope that other people will understand that sense or feeling. As creative entities, we look for signs of life outside ourselves, for a connection to alleviate the sense of solitude. That's why we all do what we do, whether we know it of ourselves or not.
I can definitely see why that speaks to a lot of Gorillaz fans. And, you know, a lot of Gorillaz fans are very creative people.
Yeah, it's just really, really touching, just really sincere work from Cass Brown here.
And also some really good insight. I'd never quite thought of it this way, where Russell frames Demon Days as really the flip side of Last Living Souls. Last Living Souls, you start the album out very alone, and then in Demon Days, you're suddenly a part of everything again.
Swept up by this big choir, yeah.
I really like that.
And I really like Russell's discussion of how Demon Days is a progression of the self-titled sound. 2D says it's like somebody's taken the first album and colored it in. But Russell actually, in typical Hallelujah Monkeyz fashion, throws out 3 adjectives to describe the transition. He says it can all be summed up by saying that Demon Days is richer, denser, and darker, which is out. Yeah, after they go through the album track by track, we're still up with another like 15 minutes maybe of them just answering general questions, and a lot of fun stuff comes up here. We get this little kind of monologue from Noodle where I believe she sums up perfectly what the Gorillaz project is kind of all about, why so many people are drawn to it. And again, it's just like it's kind of like 2D's Demon Days monologue where it's just very sincere. And I'd like to drop a bit of that in here, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, sure. Go for it.
For many groups and artists, there is a desire to add to a tradition or history of music rather than stand apart from it or advance it. They seem happy just to be in a band. For them, that is enough. The other extremes are artists who are willing to push boundaries, but at the expense of their audience, a desire to seem above your listeners or alienate your audience in order to feel above them. I think we represent ourselves in a very non-traditional way with consideration and forethought, but without pushing people away.
So yeah, that's just such a great description of what makes Gorillaz, I believe, such a special thing to so many people and why it attracts the kind of fans it does.
It's very astute. It's a balance between unlike anything you've ever heard and yet accessible and familiar in a way.
And the great thing about this band is that it's immediately followed by a story about Murdoch putting his dick in a hot dog bun and tricking Alanis Morissette into giving him a hand job. This goes on for a really long time.
Murdoch puts his penis into a hot dog bun and puts ketchup on it and lays it on a plate. He offers it to Alanis Morissette, who tugs at it a few times until she figures out the score. And then, here's my favorite part, Trevor, because Murdoch says, I've done this thousands of times, and usually this is where I get kicked out. But then everybody started laughing and clapping, which I love, because it means that Trevor, the one group as disgusting and moralless and fucked up as Murdoch Nichols, is the Hollywood elite.
I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but hey, he says even Alanis had to give it an old smile.
They're a bankrupt group of demons.
Yeah. Yes.
I think 2D closes this brilliantly, where the interviewer is supposed to ask, have you finally learned anything from your experience? And then 2D has a few false starts where he goes, I think that, no, wait. In the end of the, no, that's not it. And then he finally just goes, actually, I don't think I've learned anything. And that is a lesson in itself.
And that's We Are the Dury.
That's We Are the Dury. Okay, Trevor, that concludes our review, step-by-step, play-by-play of the Gorillaz interview CDs. We're now back, full disclosure, we're now back to the future, or the present, or I guess the recent past, technically, since this releases the day after we record it. It's all very confusing.
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, it's the Days of Future Past. You know, the second best X-Men movie? Is that?
No.
What is?
Well, X2 is the first one, and then I would say First Class is the second one, which is kind of backwards, right? Isn't that funny?
It is a little bit. Second is number one, First Class is... That's very cute.
Very good.
I hope you enjoyed the episode, guys. I'm sorry we had to do this kind of weird, staggering recording and release. Hopefully we'll be right back on schedule now. I just want to give you a chance to catch up with us. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Tumblr. And now, of course, we have a Patreon. Thank you so much to the patrons who have stepped up to donate to help pay for our server costs. That's so cool of you guys.
We really appreciate it. We'll definitely do something cool down the line to kind of give a shout out to anyone who's chipped in a few bucks.
Yeah, a little bit of content, maybe.
A little content, generate a little content for you. So what are we doing next week? Next week, we're going to take a look at the first half of Rise of the Ogre, I believe. Is that what we have scheduled next?
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Rise of the Ogre is a good read.
Do your best to track down a friend who owns a copy, or maybe a little bit of sneaky digital shit if you want to follow along. But we'll do our best for people who've never read the book, I think, to tackle it with enough context for you to be able to follow along.
I mean, I would say after our album reviews, you don't even really need to listen to the music.
You can just be like, oh yeah, I know that's that band that sounds like that one dude who wheezes when he laughs. And Trevor, until next time, this is a revision of an earlier one. Okay.
Yep.
But I'm just going to throw it out because I think it's quick and it's simple, and maybe we can just settle on it. Okay.
I'm not. Since this is a revision of the other one, I'm not even going to make this your third strike.
Okay. Here we go. Let me just. Until next time, my name is Dylan Flynn.
My name's Trevor Ickrath.
Get through the week.
Is that a lyric?
Yes, of course. That's even the cadence that Bobby Womack delivers it in Stylo.
Yeah, through the week. Oh yeah, you're right. I don't like it though. I still don't like it.
You bastard!
I still don't like it. It's to get through the week. Yeah, I
It's
don't
so,
really like
but
it.
we'll be back in a week. It's so perfect, Trevor.
I still like Don't Get Lost in Heaven.
I hate Don't Get Lost in Heaven.
Really?
The song's
This has
great,
been
though.
Hallelujah Monkeys. Till then, like we'll see you next week. Till then, don't get lost in heaven.
Demo.
Well, hopefully we'll have something next week.
We'll figure it out, you guys, or we never will, and this will just be the weird ellipses ending to every episode we ever do.
Yeah, but we'll talk to you next week. Till then, don't get lost in heaven.
Get through the week.
This features a rap supplied by London-born rapper MF Doom. MF Doom has rapped under several different identities. He started out as Zev Love, the mastermind of KMD. He's also released a couple of albums as MM Food, but he appears on this track as MF Doom.
MF stands for Metal Face, and the Doom bit is in part a tribute to the Marvel Comics supervillain Doctor Doom, the Iron Enemy of the Fantastic Four.
Doom recently hooked up with producer Madlib for the excellent 2004 Mad Villainy album.
I think we're going to do a little bit of test 1, 2 here. Have sound on Maxton.
So we only have sound on Maxton whenever he uses his built-in headphone microphone, and for some reason not the
Can you
nice
bring down that
microphone.
music, Trevor?
Can't seem to get it to want to take my mic audio. I don't know why. Hello.
I hear Maxton
Hello.
here.
You hear me right now?
Hello.
But I don't hear him on the Skype, I don't think.
But you hear me right now.
I can hear Maxton.
You can hear what I just said right here.
Yes.
What? How is that working?
I can hear what you just said right there.
Maxton,
I'm
talk
also
again.
getting.
Say that again, Trev.
I'm only getting Maxton on the stream
Bear
right
with
now.
us, everybody.
Ooh, sound check. Gravity. Gravity!
I can hear Maxton fine. I think. I can hear
What's
Maxton
happening
fine.
to
I
it?
think every now and then I'm hearing an echo of the show in the back of his audio. There's like a delay by a couple seconds.
Did anything change just now? Did the quality of my audio
Oh,
just
there we
change?
go. Now I hear Maxton on Skype finally.
Well, that was because I changed. So, okay. That's... I changed... Okay. Oh, I understand what I think is happening. I think the stream is taking... Yeah, it's taking the audio from
Oh no, this is
my-
really bad.
What? It's taking the audio from my headphones and not the audio from my microphone. And then I turn the audio from my headphones off on
We
Skype.
need to get Maxton off the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, this is... Bye.
That was a nightmare. That was a nightmare. We were going to have him read comments from the chat to us. I told him to be here like half an hour early. Well, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Are we not going to do any kind of chat participation kind of thing? Okay. I think it's according to the chat. Your voice sounds bad. Guys, does my voice sound okay? I just wanted to do it through Discord. I really did.
I know, buddy. Hang on.
If Dylan's voice, we can't fix it, I'm just going to pipe his Skype audio through the mix, and I think that will work.
It said Dylan sounds good now.
Okay.
Hopefully that holds as we continue.
Let's hope.
I'm going to roll tape on my end. Don't forget to do it on yours, buddy.
I'm already rolling tape on my end, buddy. How could you dare accuse me of doing such a thing as forgetting to roll tape?
Hey,
I've never done that before in my life.
Sometimes you just want to do a double check. It's like the Checklist Manifesto. You ever read that Atul Gawande book?
I thought that was by Marx.
I thought it was by Elliot. Nope, can't remember his name. I was going to say that incel guy who wrote a manifesto.
I knew you were going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm ready to start whenever you are, I think.
Yeah, if you're listening to this live and you want to.
I've got a lot of white noise coming through behind Dylan. Is everyone else hearing that?
I'm hearing white noise on Skype right now too, actually.
Weird. Who's that? Maxton's not still on, is he?
I kicked
Maxton
him
is
off
on.
the stream. Oh, he's on the
here.
Skype. Yeah, leave
I
the
don't
Skype
know.
call, Maxton. Yeah, leave the Skype call because they can't hear you on the stream anyway.
I can pipe him in through Discord.
Nah, don't worry about it. We're okay.
Are you sure? I think that
Yeah,
would
sure,
work.
we're good.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Sorry, Maxton. Later.
Okay.
Just us.
I think we're alone now.
It doesn't seem to be anyone else around.
As Tiffany once said in the 1980s, Dylan becoming a
Right,
cyborg. No, fuck that. Why? What have I done wrong? What have I done to deserve this? God fucking damn it.
Do you want me to try piping you in through Skype?
So the reason that I don't want to try that is because then I have to figure out how to rig this audio setup into my Skype.
Will it really matter? Considering
Everyone's saying that I sound fine now. Okay, well, stop scaring me.
But what happens
people.
next time that happens?
We push through it.
Okay.
Let's just do it. Let's just do
All
it.
right.
We can do it.
I wanted to do this on Discord.
That's okay. Maybe you were right. I guess we'll find out.
Let the record show.
It's all right.
I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Me too, but I don't have access to the things that make the show start.
All right, well then I'll start the show.
Let's start the show!
This is Simon O'Con, and you're listening to Hallelujah Monkeyz, the #1 gorillas podcast in the world.
Hello and welcome to Hallelujah Monkeyz. My name is Dylan Flynn for June 11th.
And my name is Trevor Ickrath, live on June 11th.
Wild. What a time to be alive as this.
Welcome to the first live streamed episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz. If you're listening to it live or listening to it at some point in the future, this is a thing we did.
This is like our holograms.
A little bit, yeah. The holograms are finally here. I wish I knew more about streaming culture so I could make some good live streaming jokes. How about we get some? How about
F
we get some
in the chat for respect? Pay respect. Press F in the chat.
Can we get some pogs? Whatever those are.
Kappa. That's a thing.
I don't know what that one is. What's a pog though? I keep seeing that.
I don't know what that one is either. It seems like we know all different stuff, but also barely anything.
All right, what if I do this? I'm looking at the chat right now, by the way. We have a very active chat going on in Discord. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. But how about I do this, all right?
Poggers. People are typing poggers in the Twitch chat right now also.
Great, okay. So that means something to you all out there.
And it means nothing to me and something to you in as much as you know that it's a thing.
Yes.
You know what else is a thing?
What's a thing?
News about our favorite band, Gorillaz.
All right, Leah, let's, for the first time in however long it's been, let's get into the news.
It's all good news now.
Wasn't it your mother, Trevor, who famously said about the I'm treading lightly, about the Damon's threats to take the band away for 10 years at the end of the Phase 5 tour? Wasn't it your mother who coined the term "their little break" to describe?
Yes, I believe that was her in one of our in a section of one of an old episode of when she called in and reviewed a show for us or whatever.
Could not have been more correct. And to me, it's like, you know, we're the stuff that's happening. We're getting to it. Don't worry, that's in this episode. But in a way, it kind of feels like Gorillaz aren't really back until they got a date on the books. You know what I mean?
A live date?
And they got a date on the books. The first post-Demon Days disbandment live date has been announced, Trevor.
Right, it's at some kind of festival, right?
Yeah, unfortunately for us, it's in Barcelona.
I don't think we'll be making it to that one.
I don't think we'll be making it that one. It's at the Primavera Sound Festival, which runs from the 2nd through the 6th of June of next year. And we've only got a partial list of acts, but it is massive. Like it's
a
world
big
where
festival with a stacked lineup.
For sure. In a world where I'm not like a father, a full-time dad, I could totally see myself like getting psyched up enough to actually drop the cash it would take to go to this thing. So there's going to be, here's just a few examples, Trevor. Brockhampton, The Strokes, Tyler the Creator, Beck, Pavement, The National, the Jesus and Mary Chain, and then there's also going to be a couple of confirmed Gorillaz family members. Lil Sims is going to be there. Jenny Beth is going to be there. So, you know, popping off in Barcelona.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a Garage Palace and that kind of stuff.
Although you never know. What didn't we get that we wanted?
I mean, you never even know
if
that festival's even going to happen, considering COVID and everything, right? Are we expecting live music to be back by then?
Good point. Good point. It's like not only have we been away, but the world has drastically changed.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like we at least needed to touch on it in our first episode back since everything popped off.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm being told in the chat not to kill the vibe, so let's move on.
Okay. Next news story. Gorillaz have announced to celebrate their 20th anniversary a way that you can give them money. It is a book. It is called the Gorillaz Almanac.
This is another... Is this another... I'm confused as to what this thing is. Is it another Jamie Hewlett art book? Is this a follow-up to Rise of the Ogre?
Let's take you down the log line here, okay? It's going to be 120 plus full-color pages that include old and new artwork, a comic strip starring the band, and then it also says, plus puzzles, games, and a raft of special guest appearances from Gorillaz collaborators past and present.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued. It doesn't sound like it is going to be Rise of the Ogre, though, right?
No, it sounds more just like a variety hour fun kind of thing.
Like a coffee table book, like a Gorillaz coffee table book. And it releases in October. So there's 3 editions, Trevor. It's
right in time for Halloween.
Yeah. It's like I like Gorillaz enough to own a book about them edition. The I like Gorillaz too much, and I decided to spend more money to own a book about them edition. And then finally the I'm flexing how much I love Gorillaz in a way that perhaps someday I will have regretted spending this much money.
Yeah, isn't the most expensive one like $500 or something?
No, it's not that bad. Okay. I think the American's like $250 or something. That version's sold out. So all of those
still a lot for a book with probably like 2 pieces of new art and like a crossword where like the answer is like Cortez or something.
Those people are paying for an edition that is signed by Jamie Hewlett and also has like a special art piece in the form of its unique packaging.
Do you think Jamie Hewlett has as cool a signature as Damon Albarn? Because, you know, he likes to do the peace thing in the O, which I've always thought was a nice touch. And if I'm shelling out $250 for virtually an autographed copy. I want, some kind of interesting take on the signature there.
Well, it would be funnier if it was just like chicken scratches,
Sure, or just a stamp.
Yeah. I mean, it was only like 200. It was a 200 series print, I think. They only made 200 of them. The deluxe edition for 100 is like a little bit larger than the standard edition, and it comes with 4 art prints and a sticker sheet, and then it's signed by the virtual members of the band.
I always use more Gorilla stickers.
But here's the part that's confusing to me. The standard version and all 3 of the versions come with a CD that has featuring music from Song Machine Season 1. That's the language they use.
Mm-hmm.
October, does that mean Season 1's done by then? Or do we get a partial Season 1 CD? There's no way we're going to get like the next few months of it in October, right?
I mean, what did you say it was billed as? Music from the first season of Song Machine? That sounds like it's going to be an incomplete collection.
Yeah, probably, right? Like that's almost the most enticing thing about it to me, because it kind of feels like, oh, what if that's the only physical release of the Phase 6 music,
Right.
Like, I better snatch that up.
Who wants like 7 or 8 of the 12 songs or whatever?
Or maybe the season doesn't go a whole year. Maybe the season goes to October and then it's done.
That's also possible. Yeah. The British, they do like their shorter seasons. You look at The Office, you look at Fawlty Towers, those are all like 6 episodes. So you and I are coming at this, and a lot of other people are coming at this with an American mindset, which might not be the best move there. We've been burned in the past thinking it was pronounced Future Garage. Garage Palace.
Garage Palace. Yeah.
Garage Palace.
We all remember.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Gorillaz Almanac. I did buy my copy. I did buy a standard $30 copy though. I just couldn't convince myself to pull the trigger on the 100. Certainly not the 200. Whatever. I couldn't do it.
I haven't invested in any edition myself yet, but I may.
Trevor, you remember in a past episode of this show, I was visiting my grandfather who was like sick, nearing the end of his life, and he spoke about our Demon Days experience, offered me a little wisdom.
It was a very touching moment.
One thing he said in that conversation to me, he's gone now. This is the last time I got to spend time with him, and it was really special. But one of the things he said to me in that conversation is, when death comes to town, you should leave the house, go out on the street, meet it, and have a conversation. So let's do that. Let's talk about death, and let's talk about loss, and let's talk about a really important member of the Gorillaz family and a founding member of the Good, the Bad, and the Queen, and like one of the most influential like genre creating percussionists in fucking history, Tony Allen, who died at age 79.
Yeah, drummer of Rocket Juice and the Moon himself, Tony Allen. Rest in peace.
No, I mean, Tony, look, his style was utterly, totally singular. So much so that when he started playing with Fela Kuti and they played in these combos together, people were like, "This is a new genre of music." This doesn't sound like, because people talk about polyrhythms and syncopation rhythms, and like the thing is that he could play like 5 rhythm lines by himself, like he was an orchestra of percussion. He actually said, Trevor, I think to The Guardian in an interview in 2014, he said, "I'm creating different patterns with my 4 limbs. They are all playing something different, which means you need to split your mind into 4 elements with one central idea running through." Fascinating.
Amazing approach to playing drums.
Fascinating. I mean, you have to have a completely different brain to play that way.
It's a real bummer that this guy passed. I do feel fortunate that you and I got to see him play live briefully when we went to the Demon Days Festival. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a living legend, and he was such a huge part.
I'm also super glad he hung in there for that last Good, the Bad, and the Queen record, because I don't know about
Thank
you, but
God.
I'm not sure if I can even imagine that band. As much as Danger Mouse wanted to get me to try, I'm not sure I can imagine that band without him.
Yeah, I was thinking about this too. I don't know that I want more. I don't think that there should be further Good Bad Queen material.
No, I mean,
he feels like too much of a presence, a personality, and a sonic ingredient to make it would just feel weird.
I mean, like The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, like in its lineup, always felt to me like it was meant to be representing like multiple parts of like the British sound as Damon saw it, and it would definitely feel like the project was like not living up to its purpose and intent if it was just like 3 white dudes.
For sure, the multiculturalist aspect of it, especially in the post-Brexit world, became like such a big part of it, you know?
Mhm,
And like,
yeah.
obviously both Paul and Damon are British dudes who like really look to outside of British music influences. So they brought their own influences. But I mean, Tony is just like, he's a big part of that. I couldn't imagine them doing another one that way. Gorillaz found their own way to pay respect to Tony, which I thought was like kind of an awesome thing that happened.
Yeah, we're not gonna touch on it in the roundtable, but because it's not like an official Song Machine episode. But do you want to take a listen to a little bit of How Far real quick?
Yeah, How Far, the song featuring Tony Allen and Skepta that was released, I believe, just a couple of days after we found out about Tony passing away.
Yeah, it feels like a somewhat minor entry in the Song Machine series, but I do think it's kind of a jam. So let's take a listen.
Yeah, walk on, brother. Time to hustle for the money, give a change to your mother. Change them sheets, you got stains on the cover. Better look sharp like your face on the cover. Like a chameleon, see you changing your color. Crabs in the barrel wanna hate on each other, so my life gets better. Whatever the weather, I dance in the rain and I bathe in the summer.
I actually think it reminds me more of Rocket Juice and the Moon than any like other Gorillaz song, or it reminds me of that more than any other Damon project, at least.
Hadn't even considered that. That's a really good point. Yeah, it does.
Nobody remembers that record as even a thing.
Poison. It's a good song. Go give it a spin. Go give it a
real jams on that one. We'll review it someday, maybe when we're 80 or 90 years old.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll
This does. I think this is minor. This feels fairly minor. But I also think it might actually, because it was recorded right before the quarantine started.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or at least Tony's part was. It might actually be like the last recorded Tony Allen performance, which is really special that we had that. If so, especially because he does make a vocal appearance on the song too. He
laughs at the beginning.
He goes later in the track. He goes "A D-Day Errore Oya," which means get up, your ideas and your money.
Interesting. But yeah, it is cool to hear him do a vocal contribution as well as the drums, which obviously sound great.
I don't necessarily super lock into what Skepta is doing here. He kind of comes off as like standard grime MC guy to me.
A little bit. I don't love the hook. I do think he gets in a couple of good lines in the verses. I particularly like "Always Gonna Be Judas at the Last Supper," and my favorite, "Every day somebody die, still mothers give birth to more babies."
That's a good line. I think my favorite,
up if you think about it.
I think my favorite line is when he goes, "I'm just taking what's mine till Elizabeth returns the diamonds."
Also a very good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, royal family. Give back all that fucking stolen shit.
Who's the real looters? Yeah,
no doubt. They're next. After the cops, royals, they're next.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's not the most athletic or inventive Allen performance, but I mean, it's a significant one for where it comes in his life, and I'm really happy that we have it. I wish that Damon would reach into the archives and give us some of that other stuff, because he's got a mountain of Good Bad Queen stuff.
Has hours and hours of tape of Tony playing drums. I think
we know for a fact that the jam that birthed All Alone has Tony Allen on it. Would love to hear that.
I definitely forgot that, but yeah, let it out.
Yeah, I mean, you love the guy. He was like family to you. Don't sit on that stuff.
It'll be interesting to see if we get a Bobby Womack-esque tribute to Tony Allen at that next festival set.
You can't be too sad for a dude who lived such an incredible life. I mean, what just a list of goddamn accomplishments.
Plus he was cool. Old as hell, right?
Yeah, he was almost 80 and, cool
he rode the ride. Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
Do we have any more news?
That's it. That's it. We're done
All right.
with the news.
Cool.
I mean, there's
Then-
been others like, Instagram posts. I don't know, man. I just want to keep it to 3. You want to sit
Yeah,
here
I was
and rehash,
I was very excited. I don't know if you caught this, but a few days ago, the Gorillaz members updated their G mixes on Spotify.
If we were week to week, I could see maybe
We'd be frothing at the mouth for that kind of thing.
Yeah, but in I'm not going to sit here and talk about 6 months of Gorillaz tweets and Instagram posts. I'm not going to do it. I
Definitely not.
refuse.
But do you want to talk about the Song Machine songs?
Phase 6?
Question mark. Let's get into the roundtable. Now, Dylan, I don't think we really need to for anybody listening, but I would feel like, the show would feel complete because we haven't done this yet. Let's talk about what the Song Machine project actually is.
So I'm so glad that you started there, Trevor, because this is immediately where I feel like I go to take that. I'm going down the stairs. You go to take that next step that you're expecting in your head. Maybe it's a little dark. Boom! It's the bottom. There's no extra step. Your brain is like, what's going on?
I'm interested in seeing where you're going with this analogy.
Because usually, always, Trevor, when we have new Gorillaz material, here's what else we have: context for new Gorillaz material. In the now, Murdoch's in jail. We have a new bassist, right?
Sure.
In Humans, it's a party at the end of the world. Plastic Beach, Without Saying, all of them. This time it's just like, yeah.
There's no narrative.
Gorillaz songs are coming out now.
It's unprecedented.
Right? It's weird, and it's made me struggle to form my own context for what this is. This is phase 6, right? Isn't it?
I don't know if I would call it. It doesn't feel like a phase for me. It feels like we're in like phase. Are we in 5? Yeah, 5. The now is 4, right? No, Humans was 4. The now
Humans
is
was
5.
4.
It feels like
was 5.
Sorry about that, everyone. I'm having a stroke. It feels like we're in phase 5.5, but for once in their goddamn lives, the boys are doing something about it. We're doing it.
They're doing something kind of substantial about it too. I don't want
a new song every month. It's been right.
Yeah, but it's not
accompanying
it's also
video.
Not like, I don't want to tip my hat here too much, but it's not like we're getting a fucking mix 2 every month. We're getting a single,
right? A very well fleshed out song with new guest collaborators, new substantial Damon parts. I'm sure the fan base is very excited about that.
And then there's minimal backgrounding here. I think Russell in a press release said we feel like the album is dying and we want to move forward from it. That's something he said.
Gorillaz have always been a progressive band, all the way back to those Internet Explorer commercials they did in 2010.
And Damon and Remy gave this BBC interview where they said a bunch of stuff. One of the things they said was maybe towards the end of the season, there'll be a story that starts to emerge.
But I don't think we've seen anything like that yet.
Oh, we've got dribs and drabs. There's inklings of things in the videos, I feel. Maybe.
I have to admit, I haven't been keeping up with the videos as much as I've been keeping up with the songs. And even the songs, I feel like it took me until preparing for this episode to really sit down with them. I've played them regularly since they came out. Every now and then I will return to them, but they feel like they didn't make much of an impact on me until we decided to do this episode about them.
I've had that same experience, and I don't know what to attribute that to, Trevor. Are we a couple of old asses who are just stuck in the past, in the album-oriented release model past, and we feel like, oh, we'll give this a look when it's a real thing, when it's like
I feel like there
finished
may be
thing.
an element of that to it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's been like an uphill battle for me as I think, what am I, 74 years old, as a very old man, to listen to these songs and be like, okay, I'm here with you. This is the future. We got a song a month. That's the release model. Each thing is its own complete thing. I love it. It's harder for me to do that. It doesn't feel like as much of an event to me when a new Gorillaz song drops as when, like, oh my God, we have an album to go through. So yeah, that's
But
been my
imagine
experience
how
too.
imagine how like blown your former self's mind would be if you were able to talk to yourself in like phase 3.5 and say like, yeah, I'm from 2020. We get a new Gorilla song every month now. Like that's pretty crazy. And like just because I haven't,
we don't know how good we have it.
Yeah, I don't. That's exactly it. I feel like I don't know how good I have it. But just because I haven't been getting super excited whenever one of these things drops, like I think, for example, Friday the 13th, I think it took me like a day to listen to that song. Like I waited a whole day before going like, oh yeah, new Gorillaz single, I'll check that out. Even though I'm not getting like super jazzed and excited, it's very cool that this is a thing now.
Oh yeah. It's so cool, and I think part of the reason it's cool is the quality of this output.
Yes,
So
because we'll talk about it. But
We'll
I'm
have
a
to.
fan
We'll
of
have to.
these
We'll sink our
tracks.
teeth into it. We'll sink our teeth into it. What else is there to say, really? I guess the other thing that makes this part of the job a little harder, the let's pick these things apart and see what's going on, is we can't really talk about overarching theme or like what a Phase 6 Gorillaz song sounds like with as much authority as we could if we had a piece like an album. We do kind of have to just look at these as little islands in the stream.
Sure, I do think that as more songs have started to come out, there is like a prevailing overall mood that I started to notice while reviewing the tracks for this app.
A
And
song
I'm looking
machine
forward to-
sound, if you will.
Maybe not even a sound, but like a vibe. And I don't know if it's reflective of the current, everything else that's going on, because I think these songs are being recorded like kind of in real time, right? Or are they releasing them from some kind of backlog?
It's like a fucking cursed mirror of murkiness and rolling clouds,
just
and
don't
we can't
know.
know. We can't know.
But what we can do is talk about these songs.
But yeah, you do. I agree, though. You do feel with this monthly release model, like, oh, this kind of feels like it's about this thing that's going on right now. Like there is some of that going on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's just dive in. Let's just fucking
dive in.
get our fingers all greasy and disgusting and dive into this first Song Machine song.
Yes, this is Momentary Bliss by or featuring Slow Tie and Slaves.
Okay, so I could have swore to you that right there was Damon until I finally watched this video for real, because I listened to this song a few times.
It was
right?
also a little tricky for me on my first couple listens to recognize who was doing what on this one.
I believe that's Isaac Holman of Slaves, English punk rock duo Slaves, who I believe is their drummer as well.
Is that the worst name for a band that you've seen recently? Slaves?
Yeah.
Because I see it. I see this track billed as Gorillaz featuring Slow Tie and Slaves, and I don't think of it as featuring two different artists. I just think of featuring Slow Tie and some slaves, just various slaves that Gorillaz have.
And I mean, Slow Tie as a moniker also has its own kind of cultural appropriation going on, right?
Oh, a little bit, I guess. Yeah. But
this one was released January 30th, and it was produced by Damon and Remy. And what do you think about Momentary Bliss?
I love it, man. It took me a couple listens to get used to it, but now I think it's a real banger. And I don't know if any of these songs have reached classic Gorillaz song status for me yet, but I could see this one getting there.
I think that this song also took me a good while to wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dense. It's also very weird. It's very weird.
It's something we should start doing, which we decided we were going to do for this episode, is, we don't have an album to talk about, so we can't do the whole Gorillatives thing that we usually do. But you had the good idea that we each pick a single Gorrillative for each of the Song Machine tracks, which I've done.
I did that.
Did you do that?
I did it too.
Cool. So what's your Gorrillative for Momentary Bliss?
You know what? I gotta say, I'm 85% of the way pleased with this. I feel like I never quite found the right match for my feelings about it, but I went with Alchemical.
Okay, I like that.
Because I feel like there's a synth pop sensibility here, there's a grime and UK hip hop sensibility here, and there's a pop punk sensibility here. And it feels like a jam of those three things until the common ground is found, until you get the thistle and the hogswort and the boulderberry, and then you're like, oh fuck, now I got a disappearing potion. You give that thing a swig, you're dead. You did a bad job. But Damon Albarn did a good job. And this is like, oh my God, I hear it. I see it. UK rap and synth pop and pop punk.
It's very Britpop, although in a much more like 21st century way that does a better job of reflecting the diversity of the country's artistic voices. But it's got like a big bruv energy.
Yeah,
I've also been
definitely
told
feel
by
that.
friend of the show, Uhesta, in the chat, that Mike Dean produced this song.
Really? Is that true?
That's what he says. And you know what? By this point, I trust him to know more about Gorilla songs than you do.
Sure, why not? I'll take it. Mike Dean made it.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, there's just, you know what? My closest analog in the Gorillaz back catalog to this song, Trevor, is "Do You Thing."
I definitely get that. I feel like this is like this speaks to my Gorrillative, which is rowdy. Damon's always been a proponent of this philosophy where every album needs a short burst of punk energy. Like you can see that going all the way back to Park Life with Bank Holiday and stuff like that.
Oh God,
so,
yeah, of course.
Tracks
White Light,
punk
punk,
and White Light, Glitter Freeze in a way. This feels like the first time he's stretched out his like typical punky interlude into a whole song.
And it fucking kind of rules, right?
It's really good. I think it's really good. And it's often been
it's the punk touches that really do push it over the top for me too. Like that's
there's the oi.
Yeah, exactly. That moment when Slow Tie, like, if you can't beat him, join him, and slips into that like kind of classic knucklehead Buzzcocks punky melody when he's like, "There's a hole in your pocket and you cannot find the change." It's just like you just get the feeling like, oh, these three dudes like fucking really got in the same playground and just went for it together,
Yeah, the whole song, and especially Slow Tie's like presence and performance on it, reminds me of it's often been said that like of all the bands that have influenced Gorillaz, no band has made more of a significant impact on them as Terry Hall and the Specials. And I think this sounds exactly like a Special song. Like if the Specials were a new band that first started making music in 2020, this is exactly what I think it would sound like. Even like the Turkey Twizzlers line, which I like a lot, feels very much like something you would come across in a Special song.
I figured out what a Turkey Twizzler is.
Isn't it like it's some kind of like fried chickeny microwavable snack in Britain, isn't it? Like it's some kind of like fried chickeny.
I think my audio might be gone.
Like it's some kind of like
Check. Are we back? I think my audio might be gone. But there's a
kind of like
delay. Are we back? Check. I think we're back. We're back. I think I don't know what happened. I said my driver reset. Okay. Now yeah, am I back? I should be back. I don't know what happened. I said my driver reset. Okay. Now yeah, am I back?
What are you guys hearing?
I don't know what happened.
Looping again. I'm not
Okay.
now
It's looping over and over?
I wanted to use Discord.
I'm not. Well, this would have not been fixed by that, unfortunately. It's looping.
Do I still sound bad? Do I still sound bad?
I muted my thing and I came back.
Okay.
And I'm hoping.
Do I still sound
Okay,
bad?
I muted my thing and I came back.
better. Apparently, I'm fine.
Good now. Good now. Trevor sounds fine. Now it's good.
I
muted my thing and I came better.
So yeah, Turkey. Apparently, I'm
good now. Good now. Trevor sounds fine. Now it's good. I muted my I think he got banned for being like full of good now. Good now. Trevor sounds fine. Now it's good. I think he got banned for being like full of good now. Good now. Goddamn believable. Now it's good.
What are you doing wrong?
I don't know what I did. Being like full of
I'll figure it out.
Goddamn believable.
What are you doing wrong?
I know what I did for being like chat.
The chat is very. Hey guys, can we get an F in the chat for all the audio problems? Could it be? I don't think it is. No, it isn't because they're not hearing it. Yeah. I gotta say, I'm very pleased knowing that I'm not the issue here. Like, whenever somebody says in the chat, like, Trevor sounds fine, I'm like, hell yeah, I do.
Unmute. I'm going to try this again, folks, and we're going to see. I'm hoping that this will work. I'm going to try this again, folks, and we're going to see. I'm hoping,
folks, the live stream doesn't actually work. This is just something
I'm going to try this again, folks, and we're going to see.
It's why we've taken such.
I'm hoping,
folks, the live stream doesn't
actually work. Let's try something that will make my. And we're going to see
audio way worse. But
all of the messages that's just like, oh God, no, are super unhelpful, by the way.
Yeah, okay, so right now you're just going to be hearing my laptop microphone audio, and that's all you're going to hear.
I think that's totally fine. I think the $1 billion microphone you have or whatever doesn't make a lick of difference when it's like reduced to streaming quality.
Yeah, motherfuckers, just deal with it. This is going to be fine. All right, cool.
I don't even have anything to deal with.
We're all good. We're all good. And honestly, I don't care that I scared you. In my opinion, you had an emotion, and that's the role of art.
So what's a turkey twizzler?
A turkey twizzler, Jamie Oliver, the celebrity chef Jamie Oliver.
This is how I know about them.
Yes, he like fucking dug into the byline of the turkey twizzler, and he's like, it's people, or whatever he found. He found something really damning about turkey twizzlers, and then as a result, they removed them from the British school lunches. But then, Trevor, the people got upset because they're like, we want the people.
How pissed would you have been as a young British schoolboy if you no longer had a turkey twizzler option at lunch? I probably would have been livid.
Oh, my God.
I would have been bloody livid.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been throwing Molotov cocktails like so many people are right now for a much more legitimate reason. That's how upset I would have been, Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey Twizzler. It's funny that he says it, right? And he calls somebody.
It's a good lyric.
He calls somebody a Turkey Twizzler, and then he says, you deserve school lunches.
Yes.
Is he canceled, though? Is that it for Slow Time?
What even happened with this? I remember seeing some clips at an award show of him kind of, what did he pull a Kanye or something? Did he storm the stage? Did he attack somebody?
I got you, fam. Okay, so here's what happened. It was the NME Awards, and he came up to accept the award that they give when people online vote for their favorite music artist, which unfortunately is titled the Hero of the Year. And the presenter was a British comedian named Catherine Ryan. And Slow Tie got on stage. He pulled her into him and asked her to smell his cologne. He told the audience he was going to tend to her flowers. And then and then he called her baby girl and told her, if you want to do something, see me later. Now that's bad. That's not good, right?
You know, we could be so much better than this.
Unfortunately, it's not done yet. Then an audience member yelled something at him disapprovingly because he was sexually harassing a woman on stage. So he dropped the microphone.
Shout out to that guy.
He chucked his drink into the crowd, and then he dived in to try to fight the dude.
Won.
He was removed by security before fighting was able to happen.
Okay, so not him.
So Catherine Ryan said she did not feel threatened, and that in her opinion it was a lot like dealing with a drunk heckler on stage as a comedian. And then Slow Tie tweeted that he was very sorry and that his award should be given to Catherine because he is not a hero. Let's weigh in. Let's just fucking weigh in here. Let's decide what is to be done with Slow Tie.
I mean, I definitely think what the dude did was bad. I'm glad nobody was seriously hurt. I don't know if I buy that apology of his.
It's here's what I want to say. I think it's pretty standard drunk idiot asshole behavior, and if your friend pulled shit like that, you'd just go over the next day and have a fucking talking to and be like, if you can't respect people, I'm not going out with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem. When you do that shit on stage, when you become an effigy, to put it into the Damon Albarn parlance, on stage, and you glow like a golden calf of toxic masculinity in front of all the cameras, there's kind of an argument that you should make a fucking example out of that, right? Like you should give that dude a thorough spanking, just so idiots watching are like, oh, you can't do that. Because some people might not know you can't fucking do that.
I think maybe we should just get rid of music award shows. Bad things seem to happen at them.
How about Death of the Author? And from now on, every band is like Gorillaz. We don't know what anybody's face looks like or their real name, and we enjoy their art, and we never have to see what they do while they're drunk.
I'd say that'd be great if all celebrities were cartoon characters, but hey, aren't they kind of already?
Can we talk about that little jazzy, easy listening piano outro vamp that Damon plays? I really like it.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's a nice way to end the song. My favorite thing, though, about this one is probably Damon's vocal performance. Damon sounds extremely fired up on this one. And
really
I can't remember him hearing in the recent past. He sounds like, the Blur frontman again or something.
Yeah, he's the oi oi comes out,
Yeah, he's in a really loose mood throughout this whole track too. I love that they kept in him singing a little snippet of "Lovely Rita" by the Beatles. Which he pointed out to me is a cool little sequel to him, kind of incorporating a line from the Beatles song "And Your Bird Can Sing" earlier on Melancholy Hill.
Yeah.
That was a John Lydon "Here He Goes for Paul" reference.
It's fun to get a little larger music universe nod in a Gorillaz tune. That's a cool thing to happen. I do think that moment though where Damon does play that nice little jazzy higher piano outro is what a weird moment in that song, because the flangery chorusy guitar comes back in that intro to the song, that thing, and then they've added this new synth underneath it that's whoop whoop whoop, this little bloopy thing, It's just like a musical slice of pizza with everything on it, here's a little easy listening, a little synth, a little guitar, whatever, right? This is a weird song, and this is how we're doing it.
It's the perfect shitty dessert to the turkey Twizzler that is the rest of the song.
Trevor, you deserve school lunches.
You deserve school dinners, I think, is the actual lyric.
Oh, right. That is the lyric. Well, nevertheless. I do want to quote... we're not really talking about the machine bites here.
No, I do have one to play just to give the listeners a taste of what they are. We haven't brought them up yet. They're these little... Every Song Machine release comes accompanied with one or two little vocal bits featuring the Gorillaz voice actors talking either to or about the song's collaborator.
Yeah, they're pretty disposable, but let's hear an example.
All right.
Who are all these people?
These are my friends.
Yeah.
I actually met these guys in Lidl in Shoreditch, and we had a fight over the last Stollen. I said, look, let's just split the Stollen. And we started chatting about things, and that. He said, oh, I'm in this band called. And I said, oh, I'm in a band, and do you want to come hang out and do a little bit of work with us? He was like, yeah, man. Yeah, that's how it started, really.
And you just brought him along. You don't know his background.
I don't know his background, no.
You know his foreground.
I know his foreground, that's very clear. His foreground's very clear. The background's a bit hazy.
I do like the background joke there.
Probably the best one of those. Probably the best one of those.
That's about the level you're working with.
Although in the slow tie one, he does like kind of weigh in on momentary bliss and its like grander meaning. He says,
do you have what he says?
Yeah, he says, it's about false idols and people who are not in control of their own destiny, and they lay their destiny to other people and hold themselves to an industry that castrates the best of us. Very, very now-ish, in my opinion.
Sure, yeah, looking at the music industry as like a machine goes all the way back to Girls' Roots, you know?
I don't know if I got there in the text. I don't know that I like the idea of mausoleum faces and momentary bliss, and it's all good imagery, but I don't think I really locked into a big thematic read there as much.
No, but it still does sound like a great, I think, Specials-esque kind of kiss off of a track. You get the kind of anger, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Should we talk about the video?
Yeah, I don't remember it because I have to admit I did not revisit the videos for this episode. My bad.
What? Wild. I guess it's on me.
But I do remember quite enjoying this when it came out. There's a little bit of Noodle playing guitar animation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's like they're in Studio 13. I actually have a one-sentence summary. Should I read it to you?
You love those.
Yeah, I'll do it. It's the format. God bless the format. One-sentence summary. Musicians made from ink and paint and flesh and bone assemble at Studio 13 to play a tune together, while Murdoch pits his own constitution against Damon Albarn's and loses. That's the most interesting thing about this video to me, is that Murdoch tries to poison Damon's drink. It doesn't work, so he tries to poison and he gets sick. I feel like we've learned a little something about their relative power levels.
I guess you could put it that way. I mean, Damon has had a lot of poison in his body. There's a Rocket Juice in the Moon song about it.
Maybe the whole Bronson's cocktail shit for Murdoch is just a lot of talk, you know? Maybe he's a little bit more of a lightweight than we realize.
I forgot about that Bronson's cocktail thing. That's a deep haul.
My favorite single moment in that video, Trevor, is there's that shot where 2D is standing at the sliding glass door in front of the balcony, and then Slow Tie is pacing behind him like a madman, and he's either practicing or writing his verse, staring at his phone as he paces back and forth. It's really fun. It's a fun moment.
There's a good energy throughout the whole video.
I guess I'll do the best dressed just because that's part of our video format as well.
All hell the format.
I bothered to. Best dressed, Isaac Holman in a striped black and white t-shirt with a black belt, white slacks rolled into cuffs, and black Doc Martens, especially in those shots where he's performing his vocals and he's got this this kind of sweet little boy look on his face and his arms are crossed behind his back, so it kind of looks like he's in a church choir or something. It's
that's the classic Liam Gallagher stance.
Oh my God, you're fucking right. It is.
I wonder if that was intentional or if that's just the thing British people do.
Maybe Damon's heart started racing. He's like, is this guy going to tell me I have AIDS?
Remember when they played soccer against each other? Or football, I'm sorry.
That's great.
Anyway, Momentary Bliss, very good track.
Very good track. And I think we're gilding the lily at this point if we don't move on to Song Machine episode 2.
Desolé. Let me take us out of this one because I see where the natural breaks are and you don't.
I'll naturally break your fucking face.
Uncalled for.
Very called for.
I'm a long way from life.
All right, Song Machine Episode 2, Désolé. Dylan, when did this one come out?
This one came out February 27th. It features Fatuma Diawara, a Malian singer-songwriter who is associated with the West African Wasulu genre of pop music, which is defined by mostly women performers and focusing on themes like childbearing and fertility and polygamy. Here's something interesting, Trevor. The demon strings are all on this track, which is fairly obvious. There's a lot of strings there. But it also, it features that vocal chorus, the Désolé backing vocals, are this French jazz vocal group called Voice Messengers. The track credits all of them individually rather than as a group, but it's all 6 members of that group. So really they're kind of like the second collaborator here, Voice Messengers, the French vocal jazz group.
Interesting, a little uncredited contribution there.
Yeah, in the Rosie Wilson category, perhaps. She's also French. I'm building the conspiracy map in my head.
So do you have a relative?
I do.
Do you have a relative?
Yeah,
for this
I like
one?
this one more than the last one, but I think it'll be harder to explain. I went with buttressed. Buttressed. As in having a buttress, which is it's like...
Yeah, Webster's dictionary defines.
Well, it's like, a buttress is like, it's like one of those triangles that you put up against a wall so it doesn't fall down,
Right, yeah.
And that's the visual I get in my head. I feel like it's this little stack of sonic ideas that might tip over were it not for that solid motherfucking bass line keeping it all together, Trevor.
Murdoch Nichols does it once again. The man's unstoppable.
Good ass bass line, isn't it?
It's very good. It's one of my favorite things about the song. I like how dancey it makes the song feel when it doesn't really have arrangements that I would kind of associate with dance music. I think it almost gets to a disco point by the end of it.
You know what it is? It's almost got that Andromeda thing where it's propulsive without sacrificing the chill. It moves forward as it leans back, Trevor.
Sure, Andromeda is another song where you don't realize kind of how intense it is just because the vibe is so steadied and reflective. And I think, that is another thing I got from this song. My relative is Troubled because Désolé is French for sorry. Mm-hmm. And I think this song feels like it's about trying to reconnect and reconcile with someone and the anxiety that comes with not being sure if that person will forgive you. And I believe one of the Bambara lyrics sung by Fatima roughly translates into friendship not successful as well. And I think if you were to interpret this song as being about, say, one of the most significant partnerships and friendships in Damon's career, his relationship with Jamie Hewlett, I think you would place this song right before the reconciliation that we see happen in Humility.
I could see that. I could see that read. I felt tempted to kind of let my brain go there, but I sort of withdrew from that direction. Mm-hmm. I did actually, you don't know this, but I did email Fatumata's manager to ask her what she's singing.
Oh, really? Because this was one of the funnier things about this song. You texted me yesterday that if you go on the Genius page for this one, somebody has kind of translated her lyrics to sound alike English, which is something that I wish you had never shown me because now I can't unhear it, which feels stupid.
It's like, well, dear, I don't want to die or some shit.
I want my LeMay, goddammit.
No, they're in Bambara, which is a Malian language. Shout outs to Fatumata's manager. She just gave me the English translation, so I don't have the transcription of the Bambara language. But what she's singing here it's kind of minor. She sings, when friendship strives, sorry. Don't listen to other people, sorry. When it's going well, sorry. That's what she's saying. So
okay. I think that fits my read.
It does, especially the friendship strives, right?
I feel like there's a small collection of songs you could put together where the chorus is just somebody saying sorry or I'm sorry. I was wondering if you have any that come to mind because a big one for me has always been South Central Rain by R.E.M.
Oh, that was exactly what I was going to go to. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It immediately springs to mind as soon as music and the word "sorry" comes to mind.
Would be cool if we got Michael Stipe on a Gorillaz Song Machine.
That would be a fun pull. Wouldn't that be a fun pull?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we need a little bit of old school indie rock queerness on a Gorillaz song. Where's that?
We need some 80s alternative icons. Oh wait, we have something else to talk about in a few minutes.
We do. I think Fatu Mata is a real secret weapon here for me.
She's very good. She's just one of many elements that really gels together here.
Her voice is so powerful. So powerful. And she's also just working with scales that are stressing like different notes and intervals than the other like more Western based music ideas on this track, you know?
She's a very good counterpoint, yeah.
Yeah, she's just pushing it into a different direction.
Maybe you can attribute how well that gels together to the song's producer, who is James Ford, I believe.
The now James Ford is back. Do you think this can't have dated back to the session? You don't think? Do you?
I wanted to talk to you exactly about this in context of this song, because I think from the lyrics about being a long way from land to the brass accompaniment, this track would have felt right at home on Plastic Beach, which has which has left me wondering like how many of these songs, or at least like rough versions of them, might predate the Song Machines project.
It would be weird, though, if James Ford has broken the Gorillaz producer curse and been asked back to produce more Gorillaz stuff.
That would be, yeah. He'd be the first one, right?
He'd be the first one. I can't make up my mind. I could kind of see this growing out of a Now track, and I could see it being something brand new. I just can't quite... I'm on the fence, man. I'm on the fence.
It feels like it could belong to several different eras of Gorillaz. In fact, a couple of the songs do, I think. In fact, like, maybe Momentary Bliss is the only one that I can't really place in the earlier Gorillaz catalog.
That'd be tough to do. It feels like its own animal. That breakdown in Desolé is pretty weird. When everything kind of just like falls apart, and then like the synth horns take a few stabs, and it's like, oh, is the song kind of over, and then the groove comes back in?
I like that part. It makes me think of like stuff like the extended horn break in the live version of Broken and stuff like that. I could see them really drawing it out live. In fact, there is like a longer version of this song, right?
Yeah, the video version's too long in my opinion. It's 5.5 minutes long. Most of that goes into this really long outro. And I think that this song, the single version, works way better for me. I just don't think there's quite enough going on here to last that full 5.5 minutes.
Agree. I don't need this one to be a very big vamp. I think it's nice as a concise little number.
Yeah. I think my favorite like single sonic element, though, beyond that bass line, is that like wind whistling sound that goes throughout, I think, the whole song, doesn't it? It's there pretty much the whole time. Just in the background. Very audible in the verses.
Almost makes you think of that white noise in the background of Slow Country the entire time.
Or the white noise in the background of the Skype call when we first tried to talk to each other tonight.
That's another good one, yeah.
It's another classic. Anything else to say, or can I talk about that video?
Let's talk about the video. I don't really remember this one too well.
Oh, I got a one-sentence summary. It'll be very helpful for you.
Great.
I'm on a boat. Everybody's E2D because he's sailing on a boat. And Murdoch is not invited either. He's not there.
Murdoch's not in the video?
Yeah, the idea is they like go through a portal in Kong Studios and they end up on this boat with Damon Albarn and Fatuma in Lake Como, Italy, which is this lake, Trevor, that the Huffington Post called the most beautiful lake in the world. And in fact, it's been a destination for aristocrats dating back to the times of ancient Rome.
Interesting. It is nice. I think it has been nice to see Damon with the characters in videos. That's not really something we've gotten before.
It's fun. It kind of feels like one thing that's definitely new to the Song Machine is this Jamie Hewlett style of like animation jamming. He's like jamming in these videos of like, oh, it'd be cool if I put something here. Oh, I'll make a little face over that guy. You know, like it's very interesting that he's doing that.
That's a good way to put it.
My favorite visual element of this, you must remember, Trevor, those interesting shots where off in the mist over the mountains are all these like looming kaiju-like monsters, you know, like some big crazy spider monster off in the distance. I think there's like a Godzilla at one point. That stuff's
I do
great.
remember the giant monsters. Those were one of my favorite parts of the video for sure.
And best dressed, I mean, you know, do I even need to say Fatumata? It's not even close. She's got that big, bold, colorful print, that red head wrap. She's looking fucking slick.
So far, both best dressed awards you've have gone to collaborators. I'll be interested in seeing if any of the band members get one tonight.
We'll see, because I don't think there are any collaborators in the next music video.
The next music video for the next Song Machine episode, Aries.
Aries.
I'm looking out at a volcano, trying to read the world today and see where you're at. I'll never do that.
Featuring Peter Hook and Georgia.
Peter Hook of Joy Division and New Order fame.
Hell yeah, I was really excited when I saw that they'd gotten him. I've always been a really big fan of Joy Division and a slightly lesser fan of New Order. I've always been a Joy Division boy at heart, but those are both great classic acts, and Peter Hook is like a legendary figure in like alternative music.
Oh, no doubt. It almost feels like he should have been on our like pool of, if we had a betting pool of Gorillaz collaborators we expect to see, you know, like.
Yeah, I feel like instrumental collaborations are never ones you like reach for at first, but he definitely makes his presence known on this song like few other instrumental collaborators I think would even be able to, because you know he's got that, he does that. Peter Hook, for people who don't listen to Joy Division or New Order, has this classic style of playing bass where he, instead of playing normal bass lines, he almost uses it as like a lead instrument where he plays melodies on the high strings and applies this really heavy signature chorus effect to it, which is, you get a lot of that on this song.
He's got a signature tone that's instantly recognizable, like a Santana tone, you know?
It's so cool that it, like, Gorillaz have been blessed with it for a track now. I think that's awesome.
And this is again co-produced by James Ford, who plays some synth on the track as well as let's tip the hat to Nigerian Afro-pop producer P2J, who does some additional drum programming. This one came out on the 9th of April, Trevor. And I gotta say, I've heard some people in the fandom turn their nose up a little bit at Aries. Maybe talk a bit of smack about Aries. Where does a Trevor Ickrath fall on Aries?
I've seen that too, but I've also seen some people really passionately embrace this track. It's one that kind of like Momentary Bliss took a little while to grow on me. Although I feel like this is one where I instantly got it on my first listen. I was like, oh, cool. Gorillaz song with Peter Hook, they're doing a New Order song. Like, that's exactly what this song sounds like. And I feel like, you know, there's an instinct to dismiss it for just being kind of like Gorillaz do a New Order song. But I think this is a really lovely one. And I think it's interesting that it's the second Gorillaz song we've gotten named after a character from Greek mythology, after Andromeda from Humans, because I feel like that almost must be intentional, because these two songs remind me a lot of each other in terms of like mood and vibe and just like the emotional headspace Damon is in.
Good fucking point. And let me keep people in suspense no longer. I think this song is fucking sick. I love this song. I think it's a home run execution of that like classic new wave shit. In fact, my gorilla-tive for this song, Trevor, is classic. I think that this has all the makings, all the nostalgia and warmth that just like immediately transports me to that era of music. I also think this kind of would have like, there's something about this song that feels kind of D-sidesy to me. Like it would have.
Sure, I could see that.
You know, right alongside with a 68 State and a highway under construction, just like a fucking. Mm-hmm. It's got that vibe, you know. I think Damon's voice as it ages is really nicely suited for this kind of moody minimalism where you say a lot without doing too many big moves, you know?
We're getting some really good Damon performances from this project, and I'm glad. Like, I don't know if he really did take the human's criticism that much to heart, but it feels like definitely like there is a fan servicey element to these songs, which is impressive because at the same time I also feel like they take a lot of risks and they're like overall pretty adventurous.
Yeah, I do think that he's a little gun shy about getting too far out of the spotlight. Like he might be a little afraid of getting taken to task for not being on the songs enough, maybe.
Mm-hmm. But like between
we'll
his vocal performance on this one and his great vocal performance on Momentary Bliss, I think we're getting a lot of good Damon out of this phase.
And you know, Damon Albarn, born March 23rd, is himself an Aries.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
This song was released in the thick of Aries season on the 9th of April. And I got a theory, Trevor, that Damon Albarn may have typed, in quotes, Aries traits into Google because when you do that, the little result you get before all the results, when it's like a definition that Google shows you, describes Aries as uncomplicated and direct in their approach and as having a cheerful disposition, which speaks to the two lyrical refrains in this song. I'm a model that is uncomplicated, and you can play a happy tune on me.
Very interesting. It definitely sounds like it was what happened, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Kind of?
Yeah.
We also revisit a couple of classic Gorillaz Albarnian metaphors here, like the volcano as previously used on Demon Days, like to represent the eventual catastrophic explosion when dystopia hits its critical mass level. Here he describes looking out. Yeah, here he describes looking out at a volcano and trying to read the world today, which is great, like 2020 dystopian imagery of like Damon Albarn craning his head out his window being like, what if the thing's going to blow pretty soon? It kind of seems like it is, right?
Yeah, that is an apt metaphor.
And then the second, of course, being the beach, which represented in the past the untouched natural world that gets corrupted by inconsideration and excess from us wretched demonic humans. And like here the focus, Trevor, is on the tidal cycle, the high and the low tide. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, is the premise here that the state of the world follows such a cycle, you know, and that the high tide times are like times like these, full of tumult and complexity and fear, and you're standing on that beach, but it feels like you're going to get swept up and fall in, right? But then the fear in that metaphor, Trevor, is that what if you then use it to recede into a complacent, non-active place, and you say, well, you know, this too shall pass, right? And that's a conclusion. I've been thinking about this a lot, Trevor. That's a conclusion that one can only reach from a position of safety and privilege. And of course, Damon Albarn, a millionaire, is going to be fine. No matter what happens with the volcano, Damon Albarn is going to be fucking fine. But maybe we shouldn't think about, well, the low tide will come. Maybe it's time to fucking fall in, right? Slosh around, grab a brick and throw it at a you-know-who.
I'd like to just take this live episode as an opportunity to engage with the audience real quick and ask if anyone else has like as hard a time following along with Dylan when he goes on these long tangents as I do, or if it's just an effect of actually recording the podcast, because I feel like sometimes my eyes just glaze over. So let's see in the chat if you guys like how much of that did you get?
My goddess was speaking. I know that I was clear and full of truth.
I really like this song, by the way. It's a good one. Who's Georgia?
Georgia is a synth pop singer songwriter from London who makes some really beautiful sort of confessional, moody, personal synth pop music. And on here, she's just doing percussion. She doesn't even play a synth. She just plays percussion.
Okay, so some of the beats, courtesy of Georgia,
are from Georgia, who's important enough to get a credit. So
I think this one's cool, though. My relative was yearning, because I think this one finds us like still in kind of the same emotional headspace as we explored in Desolé. I think Momentary Bliss, in retrospect, almost kind of feels like an outlier in terms of like the mood of these tracks over Desolé, Aries, and the next song we're going to be talking about. Things really do take a much more introspective and reflective turn.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does kind
Like
of
you
feel
often
like,
find like a lot of these songs, like I said, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a mirror of what's going on now, but a lot of these songs find the speaker or narrator like wanting to reach out and connect with somebody and like ultimately not being able to do that or being fearful that they're not going to be able to do that.
and they also feel like we're catching them in these personal, reflective, quiet moments. Moments with themselves on the beach, moments perhaps on a lake visited by Roman aristocrats, looking off at kaijus and thinking, "I'm sorry I did that to that person. I'm sorry."
This is another one that almost feels like it could be a Plastic Beach song for me. I feel like there's an alternate phase 3 where instead of getting half of the Clash, we got like half of New Order.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, that'd be kind of sick, right? I also do think that Peter Hook on this track is like, that's what gets stuck in my head almost more than anything else on the Song Machine, is that bam, down, 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 down.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's if he had written that and recorded it for a New Order song, that New Order song would have been like a classic one.
Yeah, definitely. It's like been soundtracking my head chatter, that riff, for a couple of months now.
Peter Hook joins in on the vocals for the High Tide part too, right?
High tide. Yeah, he's in there.
I think there is some Damon in there, although it took me watching that Jimmy Kimmel live performance to really discern it.
Let's talk about that. Gorillaz back on late night TV for the first fucking time since, I guess they did a Humans set, didn't they, on something or other?
Something or other, but yeah, we haven't. I think they did Let Me Out for Colbert or something. But
they did a socially distanced Jimmy Kimmel performance.
They did, and I don't have any of it to play, but I did want to listen to the intro because it has what I find for some reason to be a quaint little introduction by Jimmy Kimmel. I think it's always interesting to hear people outside of the Gorillaz project talk about this thing because they always choose to do so in weird ways. And we get to hear Damon do the title drop at the beginning, which is interesting. I don't think that's him in the studio version, is it?
No, I don't. Well, I guess, yeah, I sincerely doubt that it's him on the studio, but it's cool to hear him do it live. All right, let's hear that intro.
Let's listen to it.
You're about to see a special. It's the first time Damon Albarn has ever performed a duet with one of his animated pals. And here now,
one of his animated
social
pals.
Distance performance of Harry from the third chapter of the Song Machine series, Gorillaz.
That rules. That's a lot of fun.
Velvety. I love it, yeah. And it's a fine performance. It's basically Damon playing along to the track with a piano.
But I do think that framing it in this way of Damon and 2D trading off on the verses contextualizes the song in a slightly different way. Like, to me, it makes the whole COVID isolation parts of the song really stand out more, being sick of the isolation and having to exchange this duet via simulcast, and of course Damon is in a room that I'm assuming is in his house, and it literally looks like a fucking Kong Studios clutter dump website room that Jamie Hewlett designed. It's got like statues and weird posters and shit all over the place, and then like go for it.
And 2D is in a separate room which has a similar aesthetic.
He's in Studio 13.
Okay, he's in Studio 13, and he's not alone. He's got a little friend hanging out in the background.
Who do you think is that dude in the bath towel with the horse mask on? Who do you think that is?
It has to be Damon, doesn't it?
I want it to be really badly. I really want it to be.
I feel pretty confident that it is.
It's very funny. He comes out, he does some karate, a few stretches, some posing. It's very good.
He does some yoga. It's great. A little bit of a flip side to the is that Damon question on the Genius page for this one. It attributes the title drop at the beginning to Russell, which is definitely something I distinctly remember doing at like 15, listening to Ghost Train that has Russell vocals on it.
That's Russell. He's doing the weird rap.
Convince me I'm wrong.
Rap. I gotta tell you, the Gorillaz fandom on Genius.com be fucking wildin'. There's some wild shit going on. I just remember, wasn't there some psychopath who went like line by line through all of Demon Days to explain how every lyric is about Paula Cracker?
That I don't remember happening happening on Genius, but I would
He's
be
just like,
surprised
in
if
this
it didn't
lyric,
happen on some
Tootie's
corner.
thinking about Paula and his regrets, and it's just like, there's fire coming out of the monkey's head, bro. What are you doing?
To be fair, I definitely compared some of my worst breakups to imperialism.
Let's talk about the video for Aries.
Sure.
I got a one-sentence summary for you.
Hit me with it.
Murdoch Nichols straddles 2D from behind before entering him with a small prick.
Wait, I thought you were offering a one-sentence summary of the Aries video, not the Gorillaz fanfic that I just published on Archive of Our Own.
You know, great minds think alike, Trevor. And you and Jamie Hewlett, you're just exploring similar parts of the Murdoch 2D relationship right now.
I do have a great mind.
Yeah, no, this is the one where they're riding a motorbike together, and then it went like halfway through. Noodle is like, "I'm worried about 2D. Where's 2D?" And then they start following him, and then at the very end, Murdoch pulls out a syringe to inject 2D with something. We don't see what happens, but then in the single art, you see the result of that, which is like 2D's holding his tummy where he got injected with something, and then I think Russell has tackled Murdoch Nichols to the ground.
2D. Nobody's still in 2020. Nobody's taking care of 2D.
It does feel like flutters of narrative, though, doesn't it? Like Murdoch Nichols tries to poison. He tries to poison Damon Albarn. It doesn't work. Everybody else gets to teleport to the lake, but he gets left behind and can't go through the portal. In this one, he's trying to inject 2D with something. It feels like, not 100% sure, but it feels like perhaps pieces are being moved about the board.
Maybe it's all leading up to some kind of new elaborate Flash game where we have to steal 2D's organs again.
Oi, it's me, Murdoch Nichols, on Facebook. Vote for me in this poll.
But yeah, Aries, really good song, and
Really
I'm glad we
love
got a little bit of a Paula Cracker reference during our conversation about it.
It's a little Song Machine Paula Cracker reference.
A little Paula Cracker reference coming up in the live stream episode. Do you want to talk about this next track, Friday 13th?
Do I fucking ever?
I've been drinking and smoking too much. That shit damages. Give me a lot, I can do it myself. I can manage it. 2 signs I gotta live. You know how we live. You and me, we can take on the world. We can be savages. I called my dealer, said share the wire with all of us. I told him we've been so nice, don't turn them no. Is it funny how the time flies by so fast? If we do all of these lines, we go up. But if I look into your eyes, I can realize.
Really nice one. Glad we're ending on a song as pleasant and lovely to listen to as this one, featuring Octavian.
Masterpiece! A masterpiece, Trevor. I fucking love this one, Trevor.
You're a big fan.
Produced by Damon and Remy, featuring French-British rapper Octavian, released the 9th of June, 2020. A gorgeous, warm, nostalgic, dreamy, dubby trip-hop song about asking your dealer to give you free cocaine. I fucking love it. I love it, man.
It's definitely the most enjoyable one to just kind of put on, I think. I'm actually not surprised you're such a big fan of this one, because what my favorite part of it, actually, I think, reminds me a lot of this one particular subgenre or scene of hip-hop that you're really infatuated with, that I was hoping you could talk to me about again, because I can't remember the exact specifics, but something about some kind of hip-hop scene where, like, all of the R&B singers with great voices who would otherwise be singing with some of the songs got snatched up by another scene, leaving, like, all of the, like, the brutish rappers themselves with their low, gravelly voices to try and sing these beautiful hooks themselves.
Yes,
and
it's completely dead on. That is the Houston hip hop ethos, the DJ Screw Houston hip hop ethos. These were rappers in an economically devastated part of Houston. If you were a young lady who could sing, which were usually where hip hop hooks were coming from, you get snatched up by the traveling gospel choir world and be on the road singing for Jesus. So the dudes had to innovate, and they came up with 2 solutions. One was, let's go down to the elementary school and have the kids all sing my hook, which a lot of them did. And 2 is, fuck it, I'll just sing the hook myself. I can sing, why not, right? And that is I completely agree. I think Octavian just fills this with so much personality. Can we do Gorillatives real quick?
Sure. Mine is, I feel like, a similar mode to the last one, reflective.
Like Reflective, it's very present. I went with Delicate.
That's another good one. Yeah.
There's something that just like you have this little robin's egg of a song in your hand, and you have to be. It can just shatter if you look at it too hard. There's something so. I don't know. There's something so sweet.
Very.
So
another word bouncing around in my head was vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hit it.
Yeah. I think Octavian.
And a lot of it,
Octavian
like so much of it, is due to that Octavian performance. Yes.
I think he gives the performance of the season so far for me. There's so much nuance. It's so intimate. He even starts with one of the best moves of the season, the way his voice cracks on, I've been drinking and smoking too much. That's so good.
It's an interesting thing to, like, that happens at the very beginning of the song, too. This one took me off guard the first time I heard it. Like, I can't think of another Gorillaz song that really feels like this. It feels more in step with, like, contemporary hip-hop than they've ever been, in a way.
Yeah, I could see that. But, like, can we please give massive kudos to Damon Albarn, who wrote a perfect synth line for the vibe of this track? I can't stop thinking about that synth line. It's the delay on it, the farty little synth, the ding 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 ding. It's so good. It's almost Twin Peaksy in the way that it stirs me.
Yes, Twin Peaks is a good point of reference for this one. I wouldn't have come up with that myself.
Big fan. And when that pre-chorus pops off, when Octavian finds that melodic line, I told my dealer, I said, share the white with all of us. That's like, it just gives me the full-on fucking warm fuzzies. It's so syrupy, and it's such a beautiful melodic move, you know? Like, and I love, what about on the vamp when Octavian just goes like, fuck, I meant to just rap on this. Like, oh man, I took too much Xanax and or cocaine, and I made a beautiful confessional pop song.
It's wonderful. One of the most beautiful parts, though, has got to be Damon coming in for like the last minute or so of this one, and the track just kind of like vibing out till it reaches its conclusion.
It took me a while, but I got there with it. Initially, that was the moment where I was like, is David afraid of what the fandom will do if he hangs back and doesn't sing on these songs? But I'm there now. I feel it now. It just, for a second, it felt like maybe an intrusion on the vibe of the song, but I do think he wraps around it in a good way.
I think everything gels here really well.
I just think that like, it's such a special little, pretty weird little honest song, you know? And it's not even that like, he's necessarily singing about the sweetest, most beautiful things, you know? He's talking about getting fucked up. That second verse where he starts rapping, he's talking about beating some dude up. But there's a persistence of vulnerability in the delivery that it just grabs me right by the soul. I think it's gorgeous.
And I think what's so affecting about it is that you don't necessarily or typically associate vulnerability with like this like genre of hip hop that girls are doing here, and I think that's what makes it such a kind of striking experience.
Somebody in the chat just said, I could imagine Kid Cudi doing this. I could too. But I think that Octavian is earning his emotionality a little bit better than Kid Cudi has for me in the past.
It definitely feels like there's less of an outward effort to it. It feels like kind of more natural.
I also like listen to the other Octavian stuff, and it's nothing like this. That dude's like trying to be UK Travis Scott Jr. on his other shit. So it's cool. It's cool that, like, I don't know, this is just what a vibe. What a fucking vibe, this song. I love it.
Yep, just the, latest in the latest in the ways that the Song Machine project has really surprised me.
In a fucking hot run. Let's talk about the video.
Sure.
I got a one-sentence summary for you. Here it is.
Okay, I hope it doesn't describe my fan fiction again.
I don't think I'm going to be the first person to draw this connection, although I've not looked into fan reactions, but I'm betting I'm not. A global pandemic throws a wrench into the production schedule of Gorillaz video shoots, which emulates the condition of the low-budget early days of Phase 1. So Jamie Hewlett basically accidentally ends up remaking the Tomorrow Comes Today video.
Who would have seen that coming?
because he just a camera flying through a tunnel at night. You got the yellow washed out lights. You got the band members standing there and lip syncing to the music. Although, kudos to whoever's idea it was to get Russell to sing the line, "I don't talk too much, man." That's a chef's
very good.
That's a chef's kiss of a moment. That's very good.
Nice little self-referential humor.
Hard to pick a best dress though, because like everybody's shot in extreme close-up. So, does Groove Bones count during the little Gorillaz production title card at the end? Because Groove Bones has a fit. That's a real fit.
I've often seen Groove Bones referred to as the honorary fifth member of Gorillaz, so I'll give it to him.
He's the guy. Oh, I got a breaking message from listener and friend Husta, who decided that it was important enough to at me on Discord. Let's read it. At Dylan. Just as good as that is when 2D's nosebleed, right when Octavian talks about doing lines. I guess that's good too.
Sure, good little cocaine reference.
Yeah, gotta like that. But I just like the idea of Russell admitting that sometimes he's not much of a presence in this band. Pretty good.
Do you wanna rank these songs?
Let's rank them. What's the best way to do this? Bottom to top?
Yeah, definitely bottom to top. I don't know if I want to include How Far, although I would say I probably don't like it quite as much as the proper Song Machine.
It would be, if we're ranking it, it's my number 5.
Yeah. All respect to Tony Allen.
If we're ranking it, my number 6 is Song Machine theme.
Sure. I guess it was really hard for me to put these in order because I really do like them all so much. But I think a couple of the songs have really grown with me, and there's one song that has just kind of stayed static, and I would probably say that was Desolé.
Okay, I feel very strong about my number 1 and my number last picks here, and then the 2 in the middle I've kind of wrestled with myself. But my number 4, Trevor, is also Desolé.
Nice.
I do love it. I love it.
It's very good, it was tough putting it last because it is such a really solid track, and like just has a lot of the things that I want from a Gorillaz song. They nailed it on that one.
It's got great vibe. It's got a great performance. It just doesn't necessarily get its hooks quite as far into me as everything else here.
Yeah, that's how I would describe it. It's the only one that hasn't revealed itself to me over time. Maybe it will in the future and it'll climb the ranks, but for now I'd probably have to rank it last. What's your number 3?
Number 3, I'm wondering if this is where we depart. My number 3, and again, back and forth. I locked this in like a few minutes before we started, but I do feel pretty strong about it now. My number 3 is Aries.
This is going to be where we have to part, unfortunately, because I know you love it, but my number 3 is probably Friday 13th.
That's okay. So that there still can be 2 hosts of Hallelujah Monkeyz. As soon as we start agreeing on everything, just fucking fire one of us, right? Because then, what are we even listening to? 2 guys be like, "You're right.
The super host of Hallelujah Monkeyz, Trillin Flincraft.
But I mean, Aries fucking rules, and it also like
Aries is very good. And I gotta say, Friday 13th fucking rules. I think one reason why it might be towards the bottom half of my list is because this one only came out like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah,
I haven't had a ton of time to live with it. It's made a good first impression of that.
Aries is like, I use the phrase getting its hooks into me. It might have gotten its hooks into me more than anything else here. I hum it a lot. I think about it a lot. I think it's got interesting things going on in its theme and everything. Maybe it doesn't like have quite as an explosive presence in my brain as these other 2 songs, but it's still like top tier material. It's still very good.
So how do you want to go into our 1 and 2? What's the most fun, drama-filled way to do that?
Okay,
I feel like your pick is obvious. Do you just want to say what your number 1 was?
My number 1 is Friday 13th, and my number 2 is Momentary Bliss. I think that Momentary Bliss is like it's a feat of recording. It's like one of the most daring things that the band's done in a while that still comes in the form as a pop song. You know, it's not like just a weird B-side tossed off piece of experimentation. No, it's like it's trying to push forward, but also trying to think about sensibility and accessibility, and it's super, super effective. But nothing makes me feel the same way as Friday 13th does. Friday 13th makes me have feelings in a big way.
Well, Momentary Bliss is my number one favorite of the Sun Machine songs we've gotten so far. I think it is one of the best distillations of like what the Gorillaz project should be and sound like that we've gotten in like a long time. It's one of the most adventurous cuts from the sessions we've gotten. It's one of the most like freshest and newest, I think. And I just love that it sounds like a 21st Century Special song, 21st Century Britpop song. It's really cool and like the kind of stuff that I think Gorillaz should be doing in this day and age.
The kind of stuff that they're kind of the only contemporary act that would be mixing these flavors, like
a little bit.
Who else would have gone here? I mean, there's lots of cross-genre pollination acts out there, but this feels like a distinctly Gorillaz concoction to create to me.
Yeah. Aries is super high up there too, though. I just can't understate like how cool it is for me as the person who listens to the kind of music I listen to for Peter Hook to show up on a Gorillaz song and grace them with like the kind of music that only he is kind of capable of producing. I think it's really cool.
Octavian, come on the show, Octavian.
Octavian, we'd love to have you on.
Only take one Xanax so you don't have to leave. But
Octavian, take as many as you want. Just come on the show.
fucking what? The family's expanding. The Gorillaz family is expanding in meaningful ways with collaborators who I love and who feel like they belong in the family.
It's a very exciting time to be a fan of the band, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming Sun Machine sounds.
Yeah,
I think the next one is rumored. The next one is rumored to be titled Pac-Man. That's fun.
I heard that somewhere. Who knows? Maybe it's bullshit.
Who knows? We'll probably. I imagine we'll pop back up after a few more have come out and talk about those. Maybe we'll do another episode when the book comes out.
I'm looking at Discord right now, and I want to encourage some interactivity. So, guys, start typing some shit, and I'll read it as we get into the dismount of this episode. What should we do, Trevor, for future Song Machine releases? Should we do some mini ups? Should we wait until a few pile up? What do you think?
I just said what I think we should do. Were you looking at the chat while I was saying that?
Yeah, I was. I straight up wasn't listening to you even a little bit, and then I immediately showed my hand by just saying the thing that you were trying to say. What did you say?
I think that we should do another episode around when the book comes out, and we have a couple more songs to talk about, and we have a book to review.
I think that sounds like a good idea. Okay, Glove the Glove. Dylan, please take my wife. Gwen, Stream Lover.
Minimo, Gag Me, Daddy Dylan.
Sammy runs, I love any content. Yeah, okay, so this has been a live stream. It went.
I think this was like pretty successful. I think we did a good job of this.
Yeah, I think there was a time in the middle where we terrified people, but again, that's the role of the artist.
I don't know if I'll include that. I don't have that audio, and I edited this and put it together, but I'm sure it was something.
I'm sure it was something. It's something I'd like to do again, Trevor. I think it was a good time for it all. Now, here's the real question, Trevor. I'm going to do the thing where I do like the dismount talk up of the things you can visit and stuff, and then I want to see if we can get our sign off in one go.
Okay, yeah, I've got an outro queued up to play under us, and it already has like the fade up where after we do the hook like inserted. So I want to see if we can really nail it.
But a peek behind the curtain. Sometimes when we take a while to do one of these, we get to this part, and then it's a real fucking Canadian standoff of like, do you want
to figure it out real quick, or should we just do it in the moment? Do you want to trust ourselves?
We'll do it in the moment. Let's go by instinct. Okay. You can find us on Twitter at Gorillaz Fancast. You can send us an email to hallelujahmonkeys@gmail.com. You can visit us on our website at hallelujahmonkeys.com. I'm Dylan Flynn. You can find me on Twitter at Dylan Flynn. You can find Trevor Ickrath on Twitter at TRVRKRTH, which is Trevor Ickrath with none of the vowels. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hallelujahmonkeys. Our Instagram is at, I believe, hallelujahmonkeys. I think it is.
You're running out of time. You gotta hurry.
Until next time, I've been Dylan Flynn.
You messed it up. I gotta say my name first.
Until next time,
I've been Trevor Graff.
I've been Dylan Flynn.
Don't get lost in heaven.
Demo! We did it in 1.5 tries.
Oh, well, you know we can do so much better than this. Swimming in pools of momentary bliss, where you gotta buy the bounty, cause everybody take it. Meanwhile, you keep on adding. I bet you gotta grow.
It makes you sick. Something you've been happy in your skin is where it is. Something like popcorn flakes. It just flickers, set them, then it pops. And with a sure top, each twist that you deserve. Good then it's make you sick. Something you ain't happy in your skin is where it is. Something like popcorn flakes. It just flickers, set them, then it pops. And with a sure top, each twist that you deserve. Good then it's make you sick.
We could do so much better than this. Emotionally your faces and momentary bliss. We could do so much better than this. I'll retard. We could do so much better than this. Perfect little pictures of moments happiness. We could do so much better than this. I'll retard.
That was very good. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Dylan, thanks for doing a great job recording the episode.
Hey.
Hey. Cool. We'll release this hopefully soon, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.